Yeah, you gotta be careful with some of the Christians nowadays. They love their money. They're like businesses now. You gotta make sure you realize which Christians are Christian Christ-like and which ones are actually want their money. So I'm restarting this live for the sake of understanding, as we do all these things for free, beloved family. But today, I want to interact with you. I want to interact with you as I'm going to show you something today. I'm going to do an animation, and I want you to be active. I want you to get active with me in this animation. As what I'm going to do is a different animation than you have ever seen ever. Let me just turn this. All right, I just need it to be dark so I can work because seeing the screen and the light flashing in is a little distracting. So we're gonna do something really, really interesting today. I'm gonna show you first. Let me connect this here. So now, obviously, if you know, I do animations, but today we're gonna do a educational animation. It's gonna be something that you'll probably would never see done anywhere else. You'll never see something like this ever done anywhere else. But let me just show my screen here. All right. Okay. All right. Let me just get to this. And I need, I should have got another device, but I'll keep watching of the comments to see how everyone's doing. Make sure this thing is running. And we're going to do an animation here. And what the animation that we're going to do here is that what we're going to do is that blindly, we're going to, let me just make sure this is full screen because I want this thing to pop up. I forget how you actually do that. I guess that's full screen. I don't know if that is considered full screen on this. I don't really know how to work Discord that well, but all right. Okay. So this is what we're going to do today. Today, we're going to animate the Bible. Now, it's not going to be hard because what we're going to do is we're going to animate the Bible on what it says genealogy, right? We're going to actually animate the Bible based on what it actually says on the genealogy. So I'm going to put a picture on this. I'm going to put this here, and we're going to do it unbiasedly. First, we're going to actually take the common quote. We're going to go with the Ashkenazi idea, and we're going to design it. We're going to design it, and we're going to look at the actual information and see if that actually is what we get. And who are we going to start with? Yes. So we're going to actually start. Now, we already know about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? We already know about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, going all the way to the past, Genesis. What happens in Genesis? The flood story, right? We have Abraham. I mean, not Abraham. We have Noah, right? We obviously we're taking future reference going past the time of Adam. Um, During the time of Noah, we get a split, right? We get Ham, Shem, and Japheth. Now, this is not what that is. It's not an illustration of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. But through the line of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, here, if you don't know the Bible, just understand on this part that there's three sons. One is chosen, and that's going to be the line of Abraham. I'm going to actually, I don't know why I tried to drag it with this thing. I'm actually put my mouse down and get to this. All right, look right here. It just feels weird because I have the computer on, but I'm doing it on my phone. So you see this right here? So we have Abraham right over here. And this is nice because you can see where my I'm pointing at. So you can see Abraham right here. So we're going to start with Abraham and Sarah. Let's shrink that down and let's design it. So we have Abraham, and I'm gonna make this Sarah. I'm gonna make this Sarah. I'm gonna shrink Abraham, and I'm gonna put him in this corner here. Right? And then what happens with Abraham? What later on goes on? He has 12 sons, right? he has 12 sons. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm not going to put down 12 people, but I'm going to put 12 here. Okay? I'm going to put 12. Now, obviously, it's not from Abraham that has the 12 sons. He has Isaac, right? And that's what I'm going to do too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here so I don't close that. I'm going to duplicate Abraham, and we're going to duplicate Sarah. And so now we're going to have Rachel and Isaac, right? Okay. So now we got Abraham and his wife, and we have Isaac and his wife. And then what happens? They have the 12. So we're going to work with this 12 right here. I'm going to put this over here for now. So we're going to have the 12. Now, what's important about Israel, let me make sure I address this. It's important to understand that Israel they actually was able to marry any woman unless the Lord actually permitted. He would actually say who they could marry, who they wouldn't. But when Abraham actually was selected, he actually instructed his family to marry in. Now that's very important to know. That means we actually have a chromosome. Now, if you know, we've been doing some studying on different chromosomes, but what I'm going to do is something different today. We're going to do an unbiased animation. The chromosome I'm going to put here is not Y, or not E or J or any Y chromosome, but we're going to put it as a question mark. Okay, and I'm going to show you why we're going to put it as a question mark, because if you actually study this in the truth, people today actually don't know which Y chromosome that is. And I'm going to show you before we even start. I'm going to show you two videos here. Let me actually show you something. As it seems it's okay to play things in part. So I'm going to show you something in part. I'm just going to show you a part of a video. And the reason why I'm going to show you this is because I'm going to confirm to you that actually people don't really know which Y chromosome is actually the official one. They'll say it's these people or that people, but I'll show you that there's actually a what's the thing I'm going to say? There's like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle piece to try to figure it out. And if you figure it out, you know what you actually find? Evidence for the Bible. If you figure it out, I'm just going to go down because this is just one thing, but let me go down to something. I'm not going to talk about everything here, so just ignore all the things that you're seeing right now, as I'll talk about that another time. But I want to show you something. I want to show you no, not this. Not this. I want to show you something else. Let's see. Let's got to think about where it is. I apologize. I didn't have it already for you. Let me see. Think. Actually, down here. Because I want to show you a video first. Don't mind all the stuff you see in there, as that's for another time, different purpose. But let me see. In fact, so I don't. It's actually right here. It's just right at the top. Okay. All right. Let me show you something. So the reason why I'm showing you this is because we're going to be climbing the Y chromosome ladder, and we're going to be bringing forth a truth that has been, in a way, hidden. So I'm going to show you something.
See there,
3920.
buccal swabs from living Maya populations, don't they support Asian?
Okay. I'm going to let this play. I'm going to show you something. Just a short part.
From answers.tv asking about Y chromosome and 10 lost tribes of Israel. What would you say in regard to that question?
If I'm understanding this correctly, it's sort of a question of the Samaritans. The northern tribes get conquered, judged by God. Judah hangs on for a while longer. And it's really a question of the larger Jewish diaspora. Can we identify the lineage of Abraham? Because they call Abraham their father. And the short answer is we don't have enough data yet to know for sure. But the exciting thing is we should know as we get more and more Y chromosome sequences from peoples around the globe. So it's a question I hope we'll have an answer to in the near future.
Sounds like we need to start our own company to do more Y chromosome research and mapping around the globe.
Okay, so did you understand what he just said there? If you didn't understand, there's another piece. Show this one right here. So basically, what he just said is that they actually don't know which Y chromosome is the one that has the evidence, the biblical evidence, to show us who is Israel. So I'm going to show you that. That's why we're going to have a question mark on the Y
Give some others
chromosome,
an
and we're going to
opportunity. Are
illustrate
the
it. We're going to illustrate it based off of the common quote first.
Israelites from haplogroup E? Can you discuss this? I know you.
So listen to this question.
It's just we don't know yet.
That's next. Watch.
Okay. So he's got a number of questions there, that particular person, and maybe I'll ask this one, give some others an opportunity. Are the Israelites from haplogroup E? Can you discuss this? I know you mentioned the Israelites and haplogroup E at some stage, but do you want to talk further on that?
In episode 19, I think that's the correct number, we dealt with the history of Africa and saw that there's this group E lineage that's split several times. And one of the most intriguing splits is between E1B1B, that's an ugly name, yes, and E1B1A. And the latter are much of sub-Saharan Africa, and the former, E1B1B, are North Africa. And I went through the reasons why this appears to be the result of the Muslim Arab conquest around the time of Muhammad and the centuries following. What's intriguing is, so you have sub-Saharan Africa and perhaps the Arabian Muslims connected around maybe 500 BC, perhaps through Egypt or Nubia. So, who were these people? The Israelites would have left Egypt 1,000 years prior, but given the connections between Arabian Peninsula and Israel in terms of geography, could there be any link there? I don't know yet. I'm still anxious to find out. Can we find a genetic lineage that traces back to David, to Abraham, these sorts of things? And again, because we're dealing with ancient history, for reasons I went into in episodes 21, 22, 23, we're having to await more samples to say anything definitive.
Okay. So, in other words, you're going to come out with more in your book next year, because I'm sure you'll do some more research before them as well. But all this will be in a book for 2021. Somebody said here, I've learned so much from this series. DNA is amazing. Thank you.
All right, so that's all for that. For the sake of understanding, I'm sorry I didn't mute. Probably was echoing a little bit, but let's go into this because I don't want to use anyone else's stuff because something's wrong with the Christians nowadays. They like to get their money. So let's animate this and let's go about this thing very carefully. Let's go about this thing very carefully. So let's make sure you can hear me. Let me know you can hear me. So this is why haploco group question. We don't know what it is. We're just gonna leave it like that. Okay. We don't have any. It's not any letter. It's a question. We're gonna leave it here. This represents Abraham. Now remember, if Abraham is this one, guess what his son is? The same one. And guess what his son's son is? Because then we got to go to Jacob, right? I'm gonna double it up again, right here, and we're going to put another woman here. But now, in this sense, we're going to have something special with these women. Now, Jacob, he actually got tricked, right? He got fooled, and actually, the first woman that he married was Leah. Now, he wanted Rachel because he fell in love with her when he first met her, but he got tricked by his father, and he got Leah. He worked 7 years to get her, and then 7 years later, because he really wanted Rachel. He wasn't like I got Leah. I'm just settling down. He wanted Rachel, so he got Rachel. Now the thing about those two women, they also had two handmaids. They also play a big part in the story later on. So we're gonna actually have four women. Now, for the sake of space, I'm gonna have to put them a little down here, but understand they have a very big importance for the sake of understanding. They have a very, very big importance. But let me shrink them down here. I'm gonna think about where I'm gonna put them. Maybe I'll put them right here. Actually, I'll shrink these ones a little more. I'll shrink them more. So this will be Jacob. This will be Jacob. And remember what happened with Jacob? His name was called Israel, right? They end up calling his name Israel, Jacob Israel, right? Jacob's name was later changed to Israel. We'll put these ones down here too. I should have got my animation pen, as my fingers are very big. So sometimes I kind of feel like pressing too close. All right, we'll just leave it like that. So this is going to represent Jacob, and this is going to represent them. You see that? So okay, so what are we going to get? Y haplotype group question, Y haplotype group question, and then down here Y haplotype group question. We'll have the same Y's going down, but what's going to change, right? They're going to have different Y chromosomes, but they're going to have different haplotype groups. They're going to have different. It's going to have a different mutation. Now, if you're familiar with the Y chromosome, you probably heard that the Y chromosome has no, it doesn't change. They say it doesn't change throughout all the time. Like it doesn't reconstruct. But I want to show you, well, maybe I'll leave the videos alone. I'm gonna leave the videos alone for this one, as today I'm off and we're gonna be sitting. We're gonna do a little study, and I'm gonna actually make an illustration. I'm doing animation on this, and you're gonna see it all when it's done. But this is actually working on it and putting it together, and you're gonna see it all being brought out, so you can see it all being put together. And if you have any questions or you have any statements, any questions, we'll touch on those for the sake of understanding. Any statements, any questions, I'll look at them for the sake of understanding. But let me grab a second phone so I can see the comments, because I'm using one phone. Let me just grab a second. All right. Sorry for the dramatic pause. I just had to get another phone. So we're going to illustrate this off of the common quote. Now, what's the most important thing about the common quote? We got to look at what's in the people. But first, we're going to build our way up to the exile. That's what we got to build up to first. So everything that we know is written in the Bible. So we're going to build up to the exile. Okay. Let me not use my mouse. All right, back to this. So what did we just do right here? So we have this haplotype group, and then this is going to, remember, what does Jacob do? Now we got to break down what Jacob actually does, because I put this here a little too early. Let's do it piece by piece so we're not rushing too fast. So this haplotype group right here is going to be a single one. It's going to be one dedicated group. Uh, there's going to be one dedicated group. Now, each one of these women have their own amount of children. We're going to illustrate it based on what is here, right? Let's illustrate it. So we're going to have 12 sons. You see those numbers right there? Okay, so Leah has, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And we have right here, we're gonna have each other one have 2, right? 7, 2, right? Another 2, another 2. That's 12, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. For the sake of understanding, we can actually let me let me count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. For the sake of understanding, make sure I'm counting them right. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I counted the sister. My bad. I don't know why I counted sister. So remember, they also had a sister, Diana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because I was like 7. Okay. Yeah. So Leah also had a daughter. So 6, and then 1, 2, and then another 2. Right. 2. You got 6, and you got 8, and you got 10, and you got 12. Right. Gotta make sure don't. That's the daughter. She's gonna have a, now. If you're not familiar with genetics, the female has a X chromosome. So, and also in the Bible, the story is gonna be more consistent of the male, and the male also has a certain Y chromosome, a certain chromosome, which is the Y chromosome, and that's what we're gonna look at. That's what we're going to look at today, because that's going to paint us the picture to the time of Messiah. Now, the reason why this is important, because this is actually going to be evidence of the Bible, believe it or not. But actually understanding this is going to give you biblical evidence of the Bible, right? So I'm going to put this here. So what we got to do is that we got to make these sons. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to use the character, but I'm going to put numbers. So we're going to put 6 right here. And tell me if this hurts your eyes or anything, because I can reverse this as in making it what's the word I'm looking for, black, the background black and these white, so I can reverse them. Just let me know if that's what you want me to do. If you want me to do that, just let me know. I'm just turning the other phone on so I can actually see your comments and everything, because I'm actually going to try to do this and see how's everyone doing at the same time. I should have my wife reset this phone, because it looks like it went into recovery mode. Just on getting it out of recovery mode real fast. I apologize. Let me just get this phone out of recovery mode real fast, and we're going to continue with this. Just pulling it out. Otherwise, I'll grab a different phone, as I have little phones for my sons. I'm going to get a different phone real fast, because this one's in, I don't know what it's doing. 1 second. All right. Put this on the side. Yes. All right. Actually, 1 second. This phone has a different charger, of course. I apologize for the delay, but I'm off today. We're gonna really get deep in this. It's gonna be a really deep live today. So we have the 6. Let me not use the mouse. But first, let me see how everyone's doing first. If everyone's calm. Okay. Amen. Yep, we just started off. We just started. We just started. Nothing yet missed. So what we just did, we have Abraham and his wife, Isaac and his wife, and we have this. If you can see here, bad. Let me not use this mouse. And we have Isaac. This is gonna be Isaac. Now I'm gonna color coordinate them just for, I guess, a little clear things. Maybe I could. I don't know if I could. Let's see. Maybe I can't. I'll just leave it. I'll just leave it. As usually it could change the color. Let's see. Let me try to change the color once on here. Make it a little more gray. It's probably because it's already black. Probably because it's already black. Though I can do um, I can make it reversed. There we go. Now we could probably change the color now. Let's see what I all got to do to change the color on this. I'm going to make the contrast deeper and then do that. That's not really change the color. I could change the color with another app, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do all that, because that's going to make it longer. So we're not going to do too much. It's not going to be like an animation for a style, but it's going to be animation for information. That's what it's going to be. I'm gonna leave that there. as we don't need to do all that. We don't need to. So remember, this is going to be Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob on the side. And then remember, Jacob has 4 women. 1, 2, 3, and one of them had went. I don't know why. Let me actually, I'll just put her right there, and I'll put her right there for now. Okay. All right. Shrink her down. I'll put her there. Usually I have a little animation pen. I could run to the store. It'd be like 6 minutes, but no, I'm not going to do that. All right. So remember, Jacob had 4 women, 4, and remember how that happened. Remember, went through it and went through a thing. So he had 4 women. So remember that. Leah has 6, right? And remember, they're all going to have the same Y chromosome. Always remember that. They're going to change haplogroups, but that doesn't mean they change a different type. Like they're not going to go from J to E or E to what have you, right? This one's going to have 2 because at some point we're going to merge them together into 12. So let me just put that down there so it don't look like 62. And we're just going to duplicate. All right. So I'm going to put some space so it's not so confusing. So if a brother comes in or a sister comes in, they're not too confused on what's going on there. I'm just going to put them like this. Now remember, these are the sons of Israel. It's not a math. It's not math. It may start looking like math, but it's not math. Okay, so we got 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 sons. Now remember, after they have their time in Israel, what happens? Jacob does a thing, and he also has 2 sons. So we're going to actually do a thing with the group. So this is going to be Jacob and Benjamin. This is going to represent Jacob and Benjamin. We're going to now replace Jacob in the sense. Maybe I should put the names under them, but that's okay for the sake of understanding. If you can understand with this, just if you have questions, just let me know, and I'll remind you if someone doesn't know. Let me actually turn this into a 3 now. So now this is 3. Now you actually have 13 here. Now also note something happened here. Jacob actually had a different woman. Who did he have? An Egyptian. Now it's important to understand that the woman's line does alter the male's line. Now that doesn't give you another Y chromosome, okay? But it does change a little bit. Now for the sake of the live, I'm gonna have to show this. I'm gonna actually show something real fast for the sake of the live, and I believe this is all right. As it seems when I do more of the secular stuff is all right, but when I touch on the Christian stuff, that's when I get copyrights and whatnot. But let me show you something up here. As remember, all these things are for the edification of the truth. Let me actually find the one that I want to show you here. It's really interesting. Very interesting note to take note of. Now, if you're not familiar with genetics, that's okay. Just hold on. But if someone's more familiar with genetics, this is for them, because if someone's familiar with genetics, they may have heard, because a lot of people, they have talked about how the Y chromosome does not change. But let me read. In fact, I'm not even going to play nothing. I'm just going to read this to you. First, this is from 23andMe. This is what they say about the X and Y chromosome. First, understanding a little more about the Y chromosome is helpful. The Y chromosome does undergo recombination with the X chromosome. You see what I just said there? So the Y chromosome is affected by the X chromosome. Now, if you already had studied a little bit on that Y and X chromosome, of old, they were very sensitive of change. So if you, let's say, like for example, going back to this, from Abraham going to here, it will be a mutation. You have an instant mutation from here to here, and then you'll have an instant mutation from here to here. That's and that actually happened very early on. They'll tell you that that was millions and billions of years. It was not. It was not millions and billions of years. It was very early on, and it's actually to record information. There's going to be information recorded like that. Very important to understand that. Now let's read a little bit on this and understand what's going to say here. It actually tells us, it says, for actually going right here, so about 95% of your Y chromosome remains relevantly intact across generations. So your Y chromosome doesn't change. Now, if it's probably, let me actually show an image. I'm going to show this later. If you have any questions on this, if you don't believe it's all right, that's okay if you don't agree. For the sake of understanding, if you believe in the Japhetic or the Ashkenazi idea, that's okay. Just hold on. We're gonna work on the Ashkenazi idea. We're gonna do the Ashkenazi idea first before we even go on this, because I'm gonna actually show you that this is the only way. But first, let's actually see what I'm talking about here. You see how this is all E? Just see that letter. Even if you're not familiar with haplogroups, you'll see that this is E, this is E, 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 right? That's the same thing with all haplogroups. They'll stay on the same type, they'll stay on the same letter, but you'll have a change in, I'll just show an illustration of what that looks like in a mutation. I'm gonna show you something real fast. I know you saw that uh, very what's the word I'm looking for? Tribal character. So this is what a mutation is. You see that right there? Now these are SNPs. Now a SNP actually happens after you have children and have mutations. Early on, there were fast SNPs very early. They'll tell you it's millions of years, but actually, because they wouldn't expect that it would change so fast, but actually it changed very quickly early on. You get early SNPs. You have different lines. You have a line of Ishmael. 100%, every single geneticist knows, anyone who studies genetics, they know that this is the line of the Arabs, or what they call the Arabs. They know for a fact. If they don't know, then they're not studying enough. But they know that the Arab line is E1B1B, right? This is E1B1B, Ishmael. Now, for the sake of understanding, these are SNPs, these are mutations. You're gonna have changes. You see there's different mutations, M and whatnot, and all those different numbers, but you're gonna have the same. These are still E. These are from the same father, but we're not gonna go here yet because not everyone's ready to match all these things together. But right here, you can see Ishmael actually has an E. He's gonna have E on his. Now the reason why is because they're very similar, and many people know that. That's why they put them into what is called haplogroups. Now a haplogroup is just groupings of people to see who's all related with who. It doesn't give you any like geographic information or anything like that. You'll see that sometimes with some Y chromosome studies, they will actually try to show you that you can actually tell someone's geographic location, their ancient geographic location, which is actually a dangerous thing to try to do. That's not actually how you find geographic location. You don't find geographic location based on where people are currently today, because migration has happened massively in the ancient days, right? Very, very important. Now, just turning a phone on here so I can see. Finally, I can actually see the comments. I'll watch you real fast. I'm just going to YouTube on a different device to get that, to give me the chance to keep watch. 1 second. I'm just logging in so I can actually see everything, right? Because I want to move at the pace of everyone who's here currently. As this is one of those things that once this is done, let me turn this down. Once this once this is done, you're gonna see an animation of information. That's what you're gonna see. It's gonna be an animation of information. This you mean Joseph and Benjamin, not Jacob. The three represents who? Amen. Okay, so yeah, let me make sure, because sometimes I do misquote. If I say something wrong, correct me. If I because and I don't mean to say that. Sometimes I might say that. Just double check me for the sake of understanding. Yes, let me actually make sure this is understood. Right here on this side, you're going to have Abraham, you're going to have Isaac and his wife, and you're going to have Jacob, right? Jacob, Israel. That's remember he got his name Israel when he wrestled with the angel. He said, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel," right? Because you have power with God and man. Shalom, family. Shalom. So Jacob has 4 sons. From Leah, he has 6, right? This is going to be Leah. Actually, matter of fact, just for clarity, I'm gonna just at least put the first letter. And remember, we're going off of the Bible. So you can see, I'm just going to put this back here in the background. So we got Leah as 6, and we'll put, I'm going to zoom in here so I can just click on these ones. Probably make it a little clear right here. So we got Leah 6, and we have, I'm going to put this up here, and we have, we'll put Rachel. I mean, not Rachel, Rebecca. Yeah, Rachel. What I'm saying, and then we'll put. Let me grab this one. Now, actually, for the sake of understanding, remember, actually, let me actually move this one because this actually has to be this, and this has to be Rachel. That has to be Rachel. All right. Let me make sure we make it as clear as possible for the sake of understanding. Double look in here. All right. I'm actually on the screen, so let me go here. Okay, so I just put some letters on here because I want to make it a little more clear. So we're gonna do this very carefully, very, 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 very carefully. Let me just make sure we're at the right point. Okay, so you see this right here. We want to make sure we're making the character. So each first letter, you can see right here, we're gonna actually use those right there. So we got right here, we got Leah, we got Zelpa. I don't know if I just said that right. We got Blyla, and we got Rachel. Right. I'm gonna put this right here. I'm gonna put this in a corner now because we're gonna need it later. We're gonna need it a little later. So this is gonna be. Let me see one. Move this up because I want to have them all together. Okay. So 4 different mothers. You see? We got 4 different mothers. And now remember what I just showed you. The X, remember, they're going to have a Y and an X, right? They're all going to have a Y, but the X is not going to make a difference besides a little bit on the mutation. 95% of the Y doesn't change because remember, we're looking at the Y. So this is going to be the father's line. The X does affect the Y. So that's why you have different groups. So you're going to have one group here. You're going to have another group here and another group here and another group here, right? You see how that works? Now remember, even though don't look at the letters that you see on them, this is what we're gonna have here. We're gonna see if this never is gonna change. Whatever letter this is what all these are gonna be. Okay? Remember, whatever letter this is, we're gonna leave it blank. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna leave it just like that. So whatever letter Abraham had, all of them gonna have. The only thing that's gonna change is the mutation, the SNP, right? So each one of these have a different SNP. They have a different change, but they're going to all be of the same letter. Now, let's move further into the story. Let's go right here. Just checking everything out, making sure that's moving. In fact, let me put this on a charger. Actually, I'll just plug it into the computer. Let's see. Right there. All right. Because we don't want the phone to die on us. All right. So, 9. Okay. All right. So remember, we have the 12. Now we have the whole picture. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump ahead in the story. Let's have a quick summary of the Bible. Right? David says Leah, 6 boys, Reuben. Amen. Let me see. That's right. That's right. David, Ben Israel. Ben Israel, amen. Help me out here, brother. I appreciate you putting those in the chat. That definitely helps. Put that in the chat. Uh, our brother Ben Israel, he actually is fairly wise and is good. Put those in the chat so that they can see that, so they can see what actually is going on right here as a reminder. If you can do that for me, I would appreciate that a lot. So You can see this. This is going to be those lines there. Now, remember, this one has 6. This one now has 3 because Joseph Joseph had 2 sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. And when the Lord told Jacob, he said, "These are your sons." That's what he told to Jacob. And they're actually considered part of the 12. Now, Joseph actually has a double portion. The reason why Ephraim and Manasseh are there is because they count as Joseph's double portion. Always remember that. They count as Joseph's double portion. It's not 13 tribes, it's actually 12 tribes, but they count as a double portion for Joseph. Remember, they're actually counted as Joseph. But mainly Ephraim is actually going to be mostly Joseph's. That's the one that was blessed over the other. So now let's move further in the story. In the story of the Bible, we later on get the Israels going into Egypt. In Egypt, they go through oppression. One of the major things that happen in an oppression, they band together. They start to band together. They become one, right? They become one group. I'm gonna put this on the side right here so that it's not too confusing. And now I'm going to put the 12 here. Just remember this. That's just what you're seeing here. And in fact, we're gonna put it like this. We're gonna put Leah at the top. Because the reason why we're gonna put Leah at the top is because that's where we're gonna get Judah. That's where we're gonna get Judah from, and we're gonna get the Messiah. Right? Okay, so let's look at this. So we're gonna have 12. Let's put that 12. So now, remember, don't mind this over here for the sake of understanding. In fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a thing there to kind of make it seem different. All right. And then I'm gonna click each one of these and make them white. Let's see. Just to kind of have it off to the side so it's not distracting or confusing. All right. And let's move this black bar a little more over. All right. So now we're going to have the 12. Now, in this time, they count as one body. Remember that. In the time when Israel was pulled out of the land, they counted as one body. Now, remember, they have a double portion. Remember, Ephraim Manasseh is also here. He's also there, and he's going to actually count as a let's do 12 plus 1. Or I don't know if that would be too confusing. I don't know. I don't want to put 13 and make it confusing, but I guess just understand it as a sense of 12 for the sake of understanding, just for the clarity. But remember, Ephraim Manasseh is a double portion. Just remember that. Just remember that. So Ephraim Manasseh counts as a double portion, yet there's going to be 12 here. Now, these 12 are going to go to Egypt. Now that once they spend their time in Egypt, there's going to be, now we're going to actually paint this. Let's do this. Let's do this right. Let's do this right. There's a time where in Egypt, let me actually make sure we pull one up, where if you know about a little bit of the history in Egypt, there comes the Philistines later on. Now, everyone has their own opinion on when the Exodus was. Based on my studies, I believe that is during the time where we have Ramses there. That's what I believe after doing some studying and a little different things. Everyone has their own little different thing. So someone may say is this time or that time. They may say it's with this one or that one for sake of understanding. But you can say we can just say it's one of the pharaohs between 14 BC or 12 BC. So around that time, 11 BC, around that time, for the sake of understanding. You can say it's 14, or you can say it's 12. It's up to you. But I'm just going to say that is around the time of Ramses, for the sake of understanding. For the sake of understanding. While they're spending their time in in Egypt, right? While Israel's spending their time in Egypt, what happens in Egypt? They're going to persecution. They're going through it. And then the Lord comes, and then you have the whole thing, right? The whole the 10 plagues. The 10 plagues happen, and after the 10 plagues happen, you get the result of Israel itself finally making its way to the wilderness. Now, the reason why I want to tell you this time is because this is when the Philistines come. Now, you may see in the Bible that the Philistines were whatnot and this thing and all that, but understand this for the sake of understanding. We actually have very informative genetic studies on the Philistines, so I'm going to show you that. Remember, we're doing a genetic study. I'm off today. So actually, I don't even need to go use that on my phone. I can go to it on here. So that's why I had this open. Let's go down. All right. So here's the Philistines. These are the Canaanites. Because remember, in the land of the Philistines, there were Canaanites there. Then the Philistines, who are called the Sea Peoples, actually were put in that area. We know because they found their bodies there. They found their bodies in the area where the Philistines were in Ashkelon, ancient time, and they're actually the R group. Now we're gonna have to put these here because we actually know these ones. We actually know the Philistines. Let's put a R on this now. We're gonna put a R on here, right? That's important. Let's put an R on this thing. Let me make this full screen. So the Philistines are actually going to be R1A. Based on the find that they found, the Philistines are R1A. We're going to put that on here. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about the Egyptians because it's possible I talked to someone and they said genetically there was possibility that some people with R1A end up reigning in Egypt. Now, from my finds during the time of Ramses, we actually get a E-clad reigning in Egypt. Now, I'm just going to throw an E-clad on there right here. And also, it's probably important for me to talk about what happened with Abraham because remember, Abraham also had other wives. He also had other wives, but we'll talk about that later on. I don't want to. We're going to focus on Israel first, and then we'll talk about Abraham's later wives. But we'll talk about one of his sons, and we'll actually put one of his other. Now remember, let me actually maybe will I'll just do this. All right. So we'll put another wife there. And then we have a wife here, right? Hagar. Let me go down. And what I'm going to do is these are going to represent maids. So remember, Hagar was actually a maid. She represented a maid. And remember what Sarah did, right? You're probably familiar with it. Sarah gave her maid, her handmaiden. I'm just move this here. So I'm going to make these going to be Shemites. Because remember, they got with Shemites. That's also important too. If you're not familiar with the Ham, Shem, and Japheth thing, let me know, we can quickly go over that for the sake of understanding. It's not a long thing to go over, but it's good. It's important to know about the Ham, Shem, and Japheth thing. We got to know about the Ham, Shem, and Japheth thing if we want to understand these different lines. Now, R1 is actually going to be of Japheth. We know that without a doubt, and I'm gonna show you just to confirm that. Let me put her down here. I'm gonna definitely get a pin next time to help me with this thing. It's just easier to move when it's bigger. Only because my fingers. This thing's gonna make me run to the dollar store and get one of those little pins. Because it's much easier with a pin. Way, way, way more easier. Especially when it gets like this small. When it gets a little tiny like this. Or actually I use a little tablet. I apologize that it's all being like that. But while I'm doing this, I guess for the sake of understanding, remember if you're familiar with genetics, you probably already know that R is Japheth. You probably know that R is a European line, right? And that's all right because Ham, Shem, and Japheth They came from Noah. We all came from Noah, for the sake of understanding. But we all have our important place in this, right? We got to give room for Israel, right? Whoever Israel is, let's just let them be Israel, right? Because they're cursed. They're going through it. Israel is the Lord says, "It's you who I know, so I'm going to judge you. It's you who I'm going to judge through all these things." So Israel's going through it. They're getting judged a lot in these times. I just had to go down to unclip that thing. All right, so R1. Let me just confirm to you that that's a Japhetic line. Let's go right here, and let's see what they say about R1. Okay, you see right here? I'm going to go to a different one, a little more clear, direct quote on that. Okay, so right here. Now, you can understand this even if you're not familiar with haplogroups. It says more than 100 million European men carry a type called RM269. So you see what it's saying there? And then it tells us the frequencies, 90%. So it's very high. So just to show you so that's going to be Japhetic, which is okay because the Philistines are actually going to be from Europe, right? They're going to come from Europe. They're going to come down. It's a big history on it. If you want to see the history on it, I can show you real fast. It's like I made a little 5-minute video on that. If you want to know, in fact, I'll show you real fast because I'm putting a video on here that I am illustrating because this brother right here is very wise. He was very wise, and I think this got a lot of meat. I think it's important to see. But let me show you real fast.
Texts, the Bible mentions that the Philistines came from Kaftor, and as scholars have studied.
Let me just get a certain spot, and I'm going to show you something real fast. I'm just setting it up, and I just got to make sure I get to the right little spot so I can show that. Just a quick summary on the Philistines. Let's see. I just want to go to the right spot so you can see that. Okay. Because we had a little conversation with someone, and it made me realize that it's probably important to have a little educational video on the Philistines, just going straight through it. Okay, so I'll let you see this little video I made. So this should be all right because I made it. The person is talking it's education. So that's one of the things that I don't know what is someone's copywriting history now. I don't know what is what. Just understand this is history, quoting history. Sometimes it's better to let someone else explain the history than try to do it in your own words. So I'm gonna let this thing play, but everything on here I put the animations on there for the sake of understanding, and I'm gonna let it play. Let me think. I'm just processing to think if you can hear this because I don't know if you would be able to. Let me see if I can make the sound on this thing. I think I could. I just want to make sure. I'm going to let it play and I'm going to listen to see if the sound plays. I'm going to let it play.
Today we're announcing some very exciting results. We've been able to demonstrate for the first time that the Philistines were immigrants to the region of Philistia and that they immigrated in the 12th century BC. In the past, people have searched for these Philistines and for their origins. First, they looked at ancient texts. The Bible mentions that the Philistines came from Kaftor. And as scholars have studied Kaftor, they realized that at least in the second millennium, Kaftor was Crete and its vicinity. And so people thought perhaps the Philistines came from there, but these stories were sort of shrouded in history. We weren't sure if Kaftor had changed or how well everyone remembered the situation. And so people weren't sure where the Philistines came from.
Philistine in Aramean seemed to just be blanket terms, used to represent someone from a specific area, not a specific ethnicity from only one time period.
Later, Egyptologists in the 19th century deciphered some texts which talked about a group called the Paliset. The Paliset, the name was so similar to the Philistines that immediately they drew the comparison. But the Paliset seemed to come in the 12th century from the islands, wherever that was. And they came from these islands and conquered across the Mediterranean, conquering the coast of Turkey, the coast of Syria, all the way through Cyprus. They conquered across the Mediterranean and finally ended up attacking Egypt. This group, called the Paliset, was then linked with the Philistines, and people thought, maybe we understand their origins. But again, the Paliset aren't exactly the Philistines, and perhaps the Egyptians had it wrong to begin with. And so archaeologists got into the story. Archaeologists began to look at the Philistine cities according to the Hebrew Bible, and already in the early 20th century, they started to notice that in these Philistine cities, there was pottery that looked like pottery from earlier periods in the Aegean. So the pottery in the 13th century in the Aegean was now being made in the 12th century in Philistia out of local clays. And people said, I wonder if this is the evidence we've been missing. I wonder if this helps us to understand the origin of the Philistine. But still, not everyone was convinced because, of course, you can always imitate a kind of pottery. You can always trade something from one place to another. Pottery moves all the time. Goods move all the time across the Mediterranean. And so for a long time, we've been asking, how can we finally show where the Philistines came from? The Philistines themselves, not the things they made, not what ancient texts say about them, but the Philistines themselves. For 30 years, we excavated at Ashkelon looking for the ancient Philistines. We found Canaanites, we found early Philistines, we found later Philistines, and now, with the new technology provided by the genetic scientists, we can start to understand the story that these bones tell. The bones of the Canaanites, the bones of the early Philistines, and the bones of the later Philistines. What we found was very exciting. We found that the early Philistines had a genetic component that came from Europe. That's somewhat difficult to understand. We're talking about European genetic signatures from the Stone Age that persisted in European populations, particularly Southern European populations. And so,
all right, so that's all you need to see from that for now. So you see that I just want to show you that as a historical confirmation, the Philistines, they are going to be actually Japhetic. Now, when it said in the book, and that a lot of people they quote that part in Genesis, is not actually talking about the Philistines as a race. It's actually saying that's where the Philistines came out of. They came out of that area, that land. They came out of that area. And we know that because in the book of Amos, it actually talks about the Philistines. Got the Philistines from the area, he pulled them in. And then they get settled in that area and they were established there. Right? That's important. And we also can confirm it by genetics. They found their genetics, and that's where you get that R from. That's where you're gonna get that R line. So that's why we have that there. And the reason why we have that there, the reason why that's important, I'm gonna stretch out these. The reason why we have that there is because all these are going to come into play. All these are going to come into play because Israel actually is going to mix here. It's actually going to mix here. So we may have to do this in parts, but today we're gonna do a decent amount today. We're gonna do a nice decent amount today, and definitely seeing how everyone's doing and everything, watching the chat, and we're going to do this as the Bible says, word for word. We're going to do it word for word, and it's going to show you itself the truth. And the reason why I'm doing this is because some people have been wondering, why we got onto genetics now. Because we before we were studying prophecy, and we're still studying prophecy because this is actually part of prophecy for the sake of understanding. But we want to see how this plays out in the whole picture. In fact, we don't need to stretch this one out. We'll just leave that right there. We don't need that one all the way. All right. So you can see some of these things got to be stretched out. So bear with me when I got to stretch them out like that. Sometimes on some apps, you can just have it where you just set it to the beginning and to the end and it continues on. But you got to stretch these ones out. And that's all right. That's all right. Because we're going to actually have these things play out in the future. Because I could show you the faster version, but I want you to really see this. I really want you to see this. I really want you to see this because I want you to see this piece by piece because that's how we're going to see the whole picture in the truth. That's how we're going to see the whole picture in the truth. So Israel is going to be in the wilderness, right? They're going to be in the wilderness in this area, the 12. The Philistines, they're going to be where? They're going to settle. In fact, we're going to put a map here. Let's put a map on here. I believe I have a screenshot of the land of Israel. At least I believe so. Right there. Okay. We'll put that in the back. In fact, I think we got a clear picture. Let's grab that one. Let's grab a clearer picture of the land of Israel. Okay. And I'm going to put this here. So now remember, Egypt's down there. It's down all the way down there. But let's put this in the back. So they're going to be down here. And then now we're going to have that R1 position in this area right now. Remember, Israel's over here, right? Remember that. Whatever Y group they are their own, not anyone else, no one else. They their own Y chromosome only. That's important to know. So we're going to put that up there. Now, remember we have talked about Ishmael, his woman, the woman that was over here. I'm going to put her actually over here because if you remember the story, let me actually talk about that real fast. When Abraham had Ishmael, he sent them out east. He sent them out eastward. Remember how we had talked about that when we did a live on the, let's actually go to that real fast. The E1B1B. Remember how we talked about that's actually Ishmael? Let's actually open it up and go to that real fast. Because I want to go to a quote here. Besides the historical quotes that tell us that the Arabs were moved, right? Because remember how we talked about Arab, the word Arab in Africa, those terms, Arabian, and different things like that. If you're not familiar with it, that's okay. But let me show you. This is where we get the story, right? Where the Lord came and said, Ishmael shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man and whatnot. But what did Abraham do with Ishmael? He sent them away. He sent them their own direction, their own place. They had their own little assigned location. They actually go to that scripture here so you can see that word for word. At least I believe that's on here. Otherwise, I'll just type it down and we'll go to the actual scripture for that. Just making sure. I think it's under the quote with Flavius Josephus. In fact, go back. I think this is the corrupt one. This note got corrupted. Sometimes that's why I always duplicate my notes because they get corrupted sometimes in the good noise. Oh, let me try that again. I think I closed that thing on accident. That's okay. I'm just going back to Discord and showing the screen. Let's see. All right. There we go. Go right back to that. As the only way I know how to share my phone screen. Okay. Let's go to this note because the other one was corrupt. I'm going down and go to that quote, right? Because we know that what the Flavius Josephus says, he tells us that Abraham sent his sons to the east. We even can look in the Bible. We're just going to look at the quote in the Bible. So you can see his sons there, right? Go down to that right here. Now this is a different wife. Now, if you're familiar with the story with his other wife, she actually her children actually merged with Israel. They actually merged with Israel, and they also merged with the Arabs. It's important to know that these children are known as the Arabians. These are the Ishmaelites actually wasn't known as the Arabians, but these sons were actually known as the Arabians. That's actually important to note. But note this part right here. He says right here, notice what Abraham did. He gave them gifts and sent them away from Isaac. You see what it's saying right there? He sent them away from Isaac. So all the way in the time of Isaac, he separated them. That's important to keep in mind, that they're going to be a different group. They're going to have their own branch, but they're going to still have the same Y chromosome. Now, when I say the same Y chromosome, they're going to be the same group. So if they're J, they're going to be J. If they're E, they're going to be E. If they're R, they're going to be R. So we're going to find out what they are, right? And we know what Ishmael is, E. So what does that mean? If Ishmael's E, then that automatically tells you that Israel must be E. But that's obviously going a little ahead for the sake of understanding. We don't want to spin too fast. Let's go about this slowly. So we're going to keep it a question. We're going to keep it a question for the sake of understanding. Okay? I'm going to put that right there. Now, let's put that what he is. E1 B1B. And I'm going to put this over here. Now remember, this is going to be Ishmael. Always remember that. That's going to be Ishmael. I'm going to put that right there. You see it's right there. Now, obviously, Ishmael will be somewhere in these areas in the on the where you see the, you know, that area over there where you see going past that area. But we're going to put it up here just for space. Just going to put it here for space for the sake of understanding. So we got R and we got E1B1B already. So we got an E, we got R, we already got some haplotype groups. Now we got to think who is Egypt. What line is Egypt? That's when we got to kind of talk. Some people say it's R1A. I'm just going to, for the sake of understanding, just for the sake of fairness, it doesn't matter if it's R1A or E. But it's said that it's both is actually information. There is information. You can find it. Actual real information that actually tells you, because some will say Ramses is E1B1A. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because there's different levels to that. That's different levels. And many geneticists actually don't agree with that either. Many geneticists don't agree with that now. I'm gonna put this over here. I'm gonna put this right over here. And I'm gonna put this here. So I'm just gonna put this right here. And just for the sake of understanding, I'm gonna show you that geneticists don't agree that it's E1B1A. I'm just going to show it on here. Well, not here because you can't hear the sound. I'm going to let's go to it on here. I'm gonna play it on here because I want you to know this piece of information, because I think this piece of information is important to know, because I'm sure this will come up. I'm sure it will come up. I just think it's fair that we do this right, as what is more reliable. What information is more reliable for the sake of understanding. If I put E1B1A on there and it's not right, that's gonna bring extreme confusion. Extreme confusion. 1433. I'm gonna show you what a geneticist actually says about it, because we're gonna do it fair. We're gonna do it fair and see if he actually agrees with that. I'm gonna go to 14. I'm gonna mute real fast.
So, who were these people? Have some more of those answers by the time the book comes out.
Okay, well, this one at 8:10 p.m., haplogroup E-B38/E-M2 was found among Ramses III of New Kingdom Egypt. Can you discuss this? It is also the same haplogroup of Niger Congo.
So you see what he's showing right there. M2 is E1B1A, just for the sake of understanding, just for clarity. But watch what he says here.
And Bantu people. I'm glad I'm not answering that question.
The short and boring answer is the DNA from people who've died, Ramses, pharaohs, so forth, it appears to be unreliable in its quality, in its implications. There may be something we can eventually glean from it, but right now the sequences that we have that have been published do not match up with what we know from history. It seems like either the DNA is degraded or they underwent some sort of hypermutation, The fact that it's seen consistently, not only in Neanderthals, but stuff that's more recent, tells me this is probably DNA degradation. I don't think that everyone who's died just so happens to have a hypermutation rate. I think what this is DNA degradation. So we may never know what the DNA of these people were if we extract it from their cells. What I'm hoping we can do is make some inferences from those who've survived and begin to sort of work backwards in history and put the pieces together to say, okay, this is the most likely explanation for who the Egyptians were back then and who the pharaohs were. But at this point, the published statements on these sorts of ancient DNA peoples, their haplogroups, I don't find to be reliable.
So remember, that's a professional geneticist who's giving that information. And I'm also going to show you that many people who also tested it found the same results to be true. They tested it and they found the results to be, as he said, unreliable. In fact, based on a lot of findings, they actually found out that it more points to E1B1B. That's actually what it points to more, and that would make sense. Now, if you know the story of the Bible, it say the most? What did it say to Abraham? It said, "Your children shall be in Israel for 400 years." They was actually in Israel, in Egypt, and they're going to be in a foreign land for 400 years, pretty much, and they're going to be afflicted. Now, for the sake of understanding, I know about the so-called prophecy of the the 19 prophecy. That's not correct. Understand, we even know it's not correct by Paul. Paul tells us that was fulfilled. He tells us that prophecy was fulfilled, for the sake of understanding. Now, there is another end time prophecy, for the sake of understanding, but that's not it. That's not the one. That's the end time prophecy, for the sake of understanding. So it's very important to understand that the 430 years came to pass. They came to pass in the time of Egypt. Now, it actually began at Ishmael. If you don't know the story, Ishmael actually was afflicting Isaac. Remember, the Sarah saw Ishmael mocking Isaac, and she said, "Put him out because he won't have no inheritance with us." And then Abraham didn't like that. And then what happened? Abraham was upset, but the Lord said, "Sarah's right." That's what the Lord said. He said, "Sarah's right. Sarah's right. He has no inheritance." Let me make sure you can hear me. All right, because the last time I was talking for a while and I didn't press the thing. So, and then he said, "Put them out from me." Now, later on, if it's possible, understand this, if the line of Ishmael became the Pharaoh, how prophetic is that? That's extremely prophetic. In fact, that's what a lot of people are finding. I'm not going to read it all, but these are different sites that just different people who study genetics, and they was doing tests because they got these different tools and everything. I'm just going to show you this little video, what this person found right here. I guess this is just like a 1 minute video, short. I'm gonna have to sound because he just got dramatic effect. So you can see right here, he's gonna say it's not E1B1A. It's not. He just says it's just not E1B1A. But he'll show on the first publication. Now, understand, when genetics come out, as genetics come out, they keep on updating. At the time when this came out, let me show you this so that you understand. There's a piece missing. I'm not gonna show you. I'm just gonna let it play. I'm gonna let it play. There was a piece missing. So you can see right there is using one tool. That was a piece missing, but there he used another tool where that piece is actually there, and it's going to change it. It's going to completely change it. So you can see right here, it's going to say that Ramses is right here at first when they publish this, they're going to say that Ramses is 92.2 E1B1A. At the first publication, everyone was like, well, I guess everyone who's E1B1A are actually Egyptians or are from the line of Ramses. Made a big deal about it, but when we actually take that result and use a tool with that actual piece that's missing on there, it's actually going to give us the right information. So you can see here is going to be a different tool for predicting, because what they actually do, they take these different numbers and put them all together. And then when they put those numbers together, they get a result. They're going to get a result at the end of it. I guess I'm just making it super simplified for the sake of understanding. So you can see he's going to do it right here. He's going to show you the result. He's going to do the test. In fact, I think he just did it. I think I even just right here. So he did the test. Now, if you notice, he did the test right here and he got this result. That's the results that he got right there. Now, this one, I'm gonna actually go to Over here, now remember, it's ancient DNA, so you're gonna have degradation. It's gonna be in a rough condition. It's just gonna be like that. So everyone, in fact, this is not the only person who got that. Many people got that E1B, 1B, V22, right? A lot of people actually got that E1B, 1B, V22. These are different sites with the same results. Many of them got the same results. So when things are like that, when people start to get the same results, and other people also agree that the first information was unreliable, that's when you got to go back and double check your work. There's nothing wrong with double checking your work. You may get a different result. That's just that all you have to do is just bring that out to the people so they know. So I just wanted you to know that it's actually going to be E1B1B for that one. So for the sake of understanding, I guess for those two lines, you're either gonna and we can just look at Ramses. He's and understand Ishmael, his mother was a Hamite, right? Let's think about the story of Ishmael. Sarah, right? Her handmaid was an Egyptian. So Abraham got with the Egyptian, and they brought forth a child, right? Because remember what it said to the son of Benjamin, right? What it said to Paul, it says, "Are you not that Egyptian?" Right? It said you look like an Egyptian, because they know what the Egyptians look like. And then we know they Hamites, right? We even got actual dictionaries that tell us Ham is dark skinned. It's just there's no way around it. We know that he's dark skinned. We even see actual pictures of this is Ramses the third. This is real Ramses the third, the one who got the genetic results. Now, the E line, we got to remember Ishmael also got with an Egyptian after that. So remember, Ishmael, born of an Egyptian, got with an Egyptian. So what's that going to do? More Egyptians, more Egyptians, more Egyptians, more Egyptians, right? So he's going to become more and more and more Egyptians, blending in with the Egyptians. That's very important to take note of. That Ishmael kept blending in with the Egyptians. That's prophetic, extremely prophetic. That's the fulfillment. Because if you take the time from Ishmael, you start from Ishmael, just do it. And one day, just do the math. If anyone who believes the 400-year prophecy, just do it one time. From the time of Ishmael to the time of when they left Egypt, you're going to get exactly that time that was said in the Bible. You're going to get 430 years. Is no way around it. And that's the fulfillment to the prophecy that they were in Egypt for 400 years. And that's what happened. And Paul talks about it. He says, weren't they in Egypt for basically 430 years, right? So let's go over here. Well, not here. Let's get back to the animation. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you that is to give you all those things just in case if anyone comes and say, why do you have R A there and R B? Now, which one do you think it is? Do you think that the pharaoh during that time was R1A or R1B? R1A is already confirmed as Japhetic. Now, we also have darker skinned Japhanites. That's a fact. There are darker skinned Japhanites. It's important to understand that. It's confirmed. We actually seen actual Japhanites that look like Hamites. They look like Hamites, but they're not. In fact, the brother I was doing a video with, he showed me something very, very interesting. A person that looks basically Japhetic. I'm not gonna try to find it. It's really interesting. I forget the name. I forget the name of the people, but let's keep going. Let's keep going because what I'm gonna do, just for the sake of understanding, I'm going to take away this RA down here. Now, the reason why I'm going to take away the RA is because based on the genetic findings, it has to be an E. It has to be an E down there. And then we also got to remember they're Hamites, right? They're not going to be RA. They're actually going to be close to A or B. They're going to be A and B for the sake of understanding. But where are the Egyptians today? There's a big story to that. A lot of the people in Africa, the original A and B, a lot of them were wiped out. A lot of Hamites were wiped out for the sake of understanding. A lot of them. A lot of them for the sake of understanding. Now, I'm going to take this away because that's what you're going to mostly have down there. You're going to have this, and you're also going to have A and B. A and B are Hamites. You can look it up yourself. I'm not gonna go over that information. That one's more well known. A and B are Hamites. They're gonna be your more deeper African for the sake of understanding. They're gonna be your more deeper African. If you want to see a example, I'll show you an example real fast of them. Let me just use my search tool and do that. I'll show you some real Hamites or I'll just scroll to it and grab it. Let's scroll to it and grab, and I just want to show you that just for the sake of understanding. Go down here. Some very interesting stuff I got on this note. We'll talk about Yah willing someday. Definitely, we'll go over this note. Let's go. Let me see. I want to show you that. Actually, I'll just search it. Think. Okay. Okay. Right here. I just want to show you some Hamites that are actually A. Let's see, where is that? I just got to get a certain name here because their name is, some of the names that they have there is really complex, really complex name. Don't mind the pictures that you see there and whatnot. Let me see, where is it? Right here. Okay. I'll show you these people, what they look like. I wanted that click. Okay. I just wanted to see if I put a link. Sometimes I do that for myself. Just put a link, so it's just easier. Just click. These are Hamites. These are real Hamites, for the sake of understanding. I'm not gonna search too much because in Africa, some places they get really creative. So you can see those are Hamites, and I'm gonna show you another group that are Hamites. They're gonna be A and B. They're gonna be mainly A and B. That's what these are. And I double checked. You see, these ones are interesting people. They actually have a tradition of sharpening their teeth. At least I think these are the people. Yes, I think they are. Yeah, these are them. They have a tradition of sharpening their teeth, and it's pretty crazy. You can see kind of their teeth, just a little bit of that right there. I'm gonna close that. All right, let's go back to this. Go right to the front. So I just want to show you that. So now in the land of Israel, we're gonna have Hamites and Shemites. I don't know what. Go right back to the map here. Right here. Okay. So now we have that E1B1A there. Let me just zoom and spread this out. So we got E1B1B, and we're not E1B1A. My bad. We're gonna have A and B down there. A and B. You see where these genetics are coming from? So we're double checking to make sure we're making sure we're getting the right genetics and putting them on the picture. Right? We're being fair. Looking at the information, making sure we put it on there. Let me actually zoom out and put this map all the way up here. Okay. So we're going about it very slowly. So you can see genetics have a part in the story. They're going to have a part in the story. They have a part in the story. Let me just see how everyone's doing. See how everyone's doing. Shalom. Let's see. States. Yeah. Just looking at everyone's doing. We can trust the information now because you did a video about it. Amen. That's right. That's right. That's right. We remember we did many videos on these, many videos, but today we're going about it very differently. We're going about it as in blank. Remember, this is one we don't know. This is the Y chromosome of Abraham. We don't know it yet, supposedly. Right? I'm just gonna put that right there. That's the chromosome we want to find. That's the one we want to know. It's almost like a process of elimination. It's almost like a process of elimination, but we have many of them. We have many lines and everything. Right? Now, let's understand something. What did we just confirm here already? That E is from Shem. That's 100%. E is from Shem. AB, AB is going to be him. R is going to be Japheth, right? So we got the family here. We're all here. We're standing in these lands. So no matter where you are, you're somewhere in there. somewhere. And then we got Israel, right? Israel's going to be here. It's going to be in Egypt. Remember, we're just building the pieces and we're building the map. We're putting the pieces on the map. Now, there's obviously there's more pieces in different areas, but we're going to work with what is going to be involved. Now, if this is him, then guess what we got to do? We got to duplicate that and we got to put Canaan in this area. Canaan's going to be in this area. It's important to understand Canaan's going to be in this area with the Philistines. Now, that's important to note. You may be wondering, you're like, well, are they A, are they B, are these a different people? The Canaanites are a different people than the Philistines. It's important to know that. The Canaanites are real Hamites. The Philistines are actually Japhetic. Some people, because this is important, because some people, they don't think that Japheth is in the picture. Japheth actually plays a part in the scriptures. He actually plays a part in the scriptures. So we're all here. We're all actually in the picture. We're all in the scriptures. You see that? Now everyone's here. Now understand this for the sake of understanding. Obviously, there's going to be different Japheths in all different areas, not just here. But we're just putting this here as the Philistines. Doesn't mean that every Japhethite is just going to be hated for the sake of understanding. Not a camp. Now, let's understand this for the sake of understanding. Let me put this in the water so it's a little. Now, obviously, they're not in the water, but just to make it a little more clear, right there, right? They're going to be in this area. That's where they're going to be. They're going to be in these areas. I'm going to put the B a little bit on the land so it's not so confusing if someone comes and checks. All right. So Israel is about to come out of the wilderness. Let's just talk about the 10 plagues happen. They're going to leave Egypt and they're going to go into the wilderness. Now they're in the wilderness, right? They crossed the. In fact, if you've seen the Exodus, the evidence of the Exodus, we did a video on it, and we know the crossing area. We know where they crossed, right? They crossed right here. That's actually where they crossed. They crossed over right here. And just to show that picture, that crossover, let's just pull up a screenshot just for reference. As you know, I keep my soul and my phone and everything holy, so I ain't got nothing to hide. I'm gonna go down. Let me just find that screenshot right here. See that? This is the crossing right here. Now you can look up. You see where that little edge right there? We can look that up on a map. We can find that location. We know where it's at. It's right down here in this little area. See that little area right there where the corner is kind of poking on? That's where they crossed that. Where my corner is poking. That's where they crossed. What Israel came out of Egypt. See this little. In fact, maybe it'd be easier if I grab an arrow. Let's get an arrow. And I bought this thing. I bought this animation thing, so this is mine. For the sake of understanding, just because it's just a weird world nowadays. Everyone wants to put copyrights for the truth and information that's free and for everybody. So where is the arrows? Let's see. Text. Or maybe it was icon. Okay, let's get an arrow. Which one though? I just want a simple arrow. Let's just use this. All right. Let me just get an arrow here. So I'm not trying to slide my finger and sliding things around. Let's use a arrow. Let's use this one. Okay. We'll use this arrow. All right. So you can see they will be in Egypt right here. They're going to be in Egypt where it's pointing, and they're going to come out of Egypt on dry land. Still, they didn't cross the water yet, and they're going to go. They're going to dwell in Egypt, and then remember what happened. What did Pharaoh say? He said the Israelites are going to get lost in the wilderness, because right here was kind of a wilderness, and he said they're going to be lost in the wilderness. So they went out and they wanted to persecute them. Now this is a small piece of land. I want to just show you this so that you can actually see how small this land is. Just want to show you this because if you haven't seen how the size of I had to look up because I guess today was a holiday for the world. I didn't know it was. Let me see. Think. Israel size, right? me turn it sideways. I just want to show you the size of Israel. Now, if you're familiar with America, if you know the size of New Jersey, that's the size of Israel next to New Jersey. That's a state. That's a state. That's Israel next to a state. You see that? That's Israel in the middle of America. You can see Israel in Florida, what it looks like. Is very tiny. And it's important to understand when they was traveling through the land, it's not a long travel. It's not that long of a travel. It's not that much of a road to travel, right? It's not that far. Not that far of a travel. So you can see if you ever went to one state to another, then you know how it is. You know how it is. Obviously, driving will take only a few hours, but for them it'll be a couple days. It'll take them a couple days of migration, right? So they're moving around. That's just important. Just important to see the size on there. So let's go back here. So they're gonna come out. They're gonna make their way through the wilderness, and then at some point, the Pharaoh's gonna be like, I don't know about this. I think we need to go and get those Egyptians. I mean those Israelites, right? Whatever Y chromosome they are, whatever people they are, we don't like them. We're gonna go get them and we're going to go destroy them. And what happens? What happens? They go to the red before. I don't know why I put Israel all over here already. Let's actually close that. Move this. Let's put Israel here so that it's not confusing. Israel is there, right? And what's going on with Israel? Israel's about to cross over. Now it's about to be the Red Sea crossing. Because remember, Pharaoh came out. He was angry. He wanted to chase them. And then they're going to cross over. They cross over. And then you know what happens, right? Some of them die. Some of them come out and they die. Close. I'm going to actually put this arrow up here because we don't need it now. Just delete that. We'll just grab it if we need it. All right. So Israel is now in the wilderness. How long are they in the wilderness? 40 years, a long time. And then what happens? They come out and they go through the Jordan, right? Now, it's important to remember before they go through the Jordan, they're dealing with a few different people. And who are they dealing with? Shemites. Now we actually have another picture to paint. If they are Shemites, guess what they're probably going to be? Well, if Abraham is actually brought forth a child that's E, guess what those other ones have to be? Probably. They probably got to be E. They probably going to be E for the sake of understanding. If they're Shemites, if we're going to bring forth sons that are E1B1B, guess what we're going to bring forth? More E. So let's just put some E. I'm not going to put nothing there, just E. That's all I'm going to do for the sake of understanding. Just going to put E, and I'm going to put question, as we don't know what E. We don't know what E, but we know they have to be Shem. They have to be Shem, right? We can't just throw any random letter there. We have to go right off of what the illustration is, because the Y chromosome, the grouping is going to be the same, right? You're not going to have one who is Japheth that's going to be R and go and be the same thing as a Hamite, as A and B, right? It's important. That's not going to change like that. Now, there's different changes that do happen. Let's look at that for the sake of understanding. Let's look at it real fast. Just so we all understand this when it comes to haplogroups. I'm going to show you something here, right? During the time of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, we're going to get a change here. Let me just go to one up here. Now, first, I'm going to discredit the evolution theory. Evolution theory is a lie. If you believe in millions and billions of years and you believe in God, take that out of your head. There's no millions and billions of years. If you believe in a million and billions of years, you're actually contradicting the Bible, because you can't calculate millions and billions of years from Adam to our time. You cannot. And don't try to squeeze it in between when the earth was made, because guess what wasn't there when the earth was there? When in the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth. Guess what it looked like in the beginning? I got an animation video that word for word illustrates what the Bible illustrates when he illustrates. On the earth, there was no sun and moon. There's no sun and moon. And a lot of people will try to tell you how old the sun and moon is when we know they came on day what? Day 4, I think. It was day 4 or 3. I want to get the wrong one. I think day 1 was the light. Day 2 was the, what was it? the dividing, right? The dividing of the horizon and everything. And then on day 3 was the plants, and then day four was the stars and the moons and everything, right? So it's important to know that get that idea out of your mind. Millions and billions of years out of your head. So if millions and billions of years are out of your head, guess what you're going to have? If you're familiar with this design, guess what you got to work with? Because at first, if you're millions and billions of years, you know what you think? You probably think that you started off as ape men and then you became a human. That's ridiculous. And also, you know what the problem with that? These are Hamites. Have we ever seen a Hamite become a Japhanite? Have we seen a Hamite become Japheth? No. These genetics always remain the same throughout all of history. They don't become, they'll try to tell you that the people began as A, then they became B, then they became D, then they became these. That's a lie. You'll never see no one turns from a Hamite to a Japhanite. Just get the millions and billions of years out of your head. Now you're going to understand the real picture. The split begins at CT. Everyone who studies this and understands the Bible and actually looks at the real genetics, this is a real illustration that a geneticist did themselves. They're the one who designed this, and they color coordinated it. You can see it's color coordinated. There's 3 branches here: Ham, Shem, and Japheth. You can see what's going on there. And I actually designed it right here so you can see. This is going to be Shemites. These are going to be Hamites. And these are going to be Japhanites. Everything you see here is going to be Japheth. They have their own branch. They branch off, and then they split into their own different groups, different haplotype groups, different letters. But they're going to be their own: Ham, Shem, and Japheth. See what's going on there? Because we never see a Hamite become a Japhanite. That million and billion of years got to get out of your head. If anyone has that in their head, you got to take it out, right? Otherwise, you won't understand what the Bible is illustrating. Now, these are the letters. If you're not familiar with it, just remember A to S. That's all you got to remember. The letters A to S. That's all you got to remember, right? A and B are Hamites. D and E are Shemites. These were together in the beginning. These were connected together because they came from the same stock, right? This is the split right here. This is the split from Noah's flood right here. We see that in genetics. It's an evident split. And you can even see, they'll even put the years on them sometimes. They even put the years on them. So like this one, you can see. Now understand, there's no millions and billions of years. There's no thousands, no 10,000, 20,000. There's no 20,000 years, but you can actually understand this in this concept. These ones right here are older than these ones. These ones are older than these ones, but they'll try to tell you that these ones are older than these ones. They'll tell you that the Hamites are older than Japhanites and Shemites. What's the problem with that? Ham is the youngest. Did you know Ham's the youngest one? Ham is the youngest one, and Japheth is the oldest one. Well, let's take that in. How can you go from Hamite to Japhanite if Japheth was born before Ham? Well, let's understand it in the sense like this. There's a split at this moment to Shem, Ham, and Japheth. You can actually see the evidence in genetics is undeniable. Many geneticists actually agree to it. And that's what you're seeing here is I'm actually showing you what I studied and found, because I also have a little understanding in the medical field, and what another geneticist found. Other geneticists actually found these same things. And what I did is just make it a little more clear so you can see that. And you can see here's the genes. Shem, we're going down Shem from the time of Noah, right? You're going to get different lines, right? Different trees. And you're going to get different lines, and you're going to get different branches, and you're going to get Abraham and his family and everything. See all that was going on there? Obviously illustrating that more because that's what we want to pay attention to. And then you're going to have Japheth. They're going to have their own branches, right? Javan is going to be the Greeks. A lot of more European. You're going to be more of Javan, not of Magog or Gomer. A lot of you are not Magog and Gomer. Those are different branches. But you're Javan. You're different. You're different than a lot of them, right? Kittim is going to be Rome, but a lot of them is going to be like this, right? Elisha and stuff like that. Some very, very nice names. And you got a Ham, right? You're going to have different Hams. You got Misraim. Misraim, that's going to be of Egypt, right? You're going to have different lines there. Now, right here, you can see where it puts right here in the Philistines. Stuff like that can confuse you. The Philistines, remember, they're actually Japhetic. The land of Philistine was actually named that land. And guess what actually Philistine mean? A lot, like, for example, with the how you say I forgot how you say their name. The Phoenicians, right? The Phoenicians, they're actually named after the land. It actually comes from the word purple. Comes from the word purple. The reason why is because at the sea base of Israel, going right here at the sea base, there was a lot of purple snails here. And then they would actually get those snails and they would become like purple people. So sometimes they'll call them Philistines, which are like purple people. They were purple people. They become kind of purple. And the reason why is because of those dying of the purple that was going on there. So now you know a little bit about that. Really interesting with that. So going back here, you can see. No, we're not going to get here yet. We'll work our way there. So we're going to work our way, right? We already confirmed. Now where is R here? Where is R? Right here. You see the R? Now you see the stem who is connected to. Now if we confirm that this is Japheth, if we confirmed it, right? What does that mean for everything else over here? They're Japheth. Everything else over here, every letter here is Japheth. Every other letter. And we confirmed that these are Hamites, A and B. A and B. See the A and the B right there? I wonder if this magnifying glass work now. Ooh, that's super zoomed in. That's super zoomed in. So you can see that B right there. You can see that A right there. I got all day, family. I got all day. I'm off today. Oh, it's a blessing. Y'all blessed me today. We just off. So we're gonna do some work. We're gonna do it. If someone got time, we're gonna do it. If you don't got time today, you can come back to the live. And if you ask a question, I'll talk to you like I'm live. I'll talk to you like we're live. Like if you're here and you're busy, and I know how it is. You know, we all got different times of the day. Some got kids, some got this thing and that thing. If you got to go, that's okay. But if you come back and I'm not here, if we're not live, if you ever watch any of my videos or you put any message, I'll answer every single comment, every single one. I don't care if we got 100 comments. I'll sit there all day and answer for the sake of understanding. Because I think that that's what we have to do, a holy conversation. But I think a lot of Christians have forgotten that and start working on money and their own selfish gain. But I'm going to focus on the truth. All right. So right here, as you can see, D, you see that branch there. Now, what did we confirm here? This is Ishmael. Now, notice Ishmael has his own branch, right? Remember, we did a video on that, a big video on E1B1B. It's like 4 hours long. We show linguistic information, we show biblical information, we show historic information, and we show genetic information, and it's all in agreement, right? E1B1B comes from who? Abraham. So if this is from Abraham, guess where a lot of these come from? Shem. So it's very important to understand that. We'll get to that. We'll get to these things and talk about that when we get there. So remember, this is Ham, this is Shem, and this is Japheth, right? Let's go over here. A little bit over. So the easiest way, now you know genetics. All you have to do is know this. Because genetics is not that hard if you understand the Bible. See? A and B are going to be Ham, right? I put the arrows there. And I think this note isn't in the description. I got this note in the description, but if you want this note, I'll put this in the description. But this. I'll go over this, y'all willing, maybe tomorrow. Y'all willing, I'll put this note in the description tomorrow. We'll go over this tomorrow. We'll go over this whole note tomorrow. So right here, and this is deep. This is gonna be super deep. You'll never see nothing like this, and so precise. It's super deep and amazing. But you can see right here, A and B, right here. Those are going to be Shem. This is going to be him. And you can see the split. See that split right there? It's going to split right here at the time of Noah. And that's what the other ones was showing you, that same split. And they go their way. And then you're going to also have a split of Shem. These are going to be Shemites because we also confirmed E was Ishmael, right? We confirmed that. And then we also have the split of Japheth. Remember, we confirmed what they look on the that chart thing, right? It also begins here. And there's an interesting letter here. I just want to mention this. C. C is really interesting. We don't know if it's Shem or Ham. Some say it's Japheth. It might be Japheth. It might be Japheth. But it's a really interesting one. You can see how it breaks off like that. I can't really tell you what it is. I can't 100% tell you if it's Shem or Japheth, right? I'll just leave it as incognito. I just leave that one as incognito. Not many people you can find just pure C. There's not many people you can find as pure C. I haven't found many people that's pure C yet. I'll probably do a private study on that and just see what it reveals to me, what it reveals to us for the sake of understanding, and we'll bring that forth. I haven't looked into it yet, but C is one of those middle grounds. Because you can see, like for example, I'll show you just to show you, because you may see that it's on the same stem, but if you look at it, how it's designed, like this geneticist even designed it, you can see right here, C is right here, right? But is it is it actually like this? Like is this connected and it comes over here? You can see it's kind of over here, and is this supposed to be a little bit more over here? You see how that works? So C is an interesting one. So I kind of at first I just threw the sham on it, but I was like, I don't know what to do with it. So I just kind of left it, and it's like is incognito. So I just leave that like that. I don't know what to do with C. C is just C. C. All right. So you can see right here, A B is gonna be him. D E is gonna be Shem, and then C T is gonna be Japheth. Now you're probably like, what is this now? If you're not familiar with this, let me go over here so that we can get familiar with it real fast. And it's not hard. You can see these are really easy. It's just A to S. That's all you gotta remember. A to S. That's it. A to S. If you know A and B, D and E, and then the rest is Japheth. That's all you gotta know. Okay. So CT right here, there's gonna be a split at CT. That just counts CT as the time of Noah, right? Just say CT correct time. Correct time. CT correct time. Start at the correct time and you'll be okay. Start at the correct time and you'll be all right. Split off at the correct time and you'll have the understanding of the information. Just don't go their way that they're trying to go. They'll make you think it goes like this. Just shoot straight down. It does not do that. It actually branches off because we all started at the same point. We all came off the boat of Noah. They want to tell you that you came from a bowl of soup. That let them try to figure that out. Let them try to figure out how a rock brought forth life and how DNA root itself, right? Let them try to figure that out. But right here, for the sake of truth, CT is the correct time. We're going to start there, and it goes to BT, and then that's going to give us A line. That's going to give us the A line. And then you're going to get from CT is going to go to CF. And that's where you're going to get all the genetics for Japheth. And then from there is going to go to DE. And you're going to get DE. And look how easy it is. You can actually see it's not that hard. It's actually not that hard. But they'll try to illustrate it in a way where it may seem hard, but it's not. It's really not. So you can see right here, DE, that's going to be your Shemites. And remember, we confirmed this is Ishmael. So we got to get from Ishmael the Israelites, but we're probably going too fast for some. Let's not too draw away some of the brothers, because understand when this is finished, we're going to try to bring this to the people who are Christian, quote unquote Christian, the Christians that want to kind of stay away from genetics and all the controversial things, the heavy things. Even though Jesus was controversial, Yeshua was controversial, wasn't he not? There was a time where he said, "You got to eat my flesh." Probably, I don't know if I want to eat your flesh, but you see, that's how Messiah is. He brings forth the heavy things to see if you can handle it. Can you handle it? Are you going to stay? Are you going to stick through it? If you stick through it, it's a great reward for you. It's a great reward. So you're going to know this stuff. If you know this stuff, guess what you're going to start to know? You're going to understand the world that you're in. This is evidence for the Bible, just to let you know. Everything that you see here, this split right here, evidence of the Bible. This one's a little, I don't want to confuse you with this one, but you can see right here, it splits. Simple. This is the split right here. It's going to split, and you're going to get E and D, right? So you get your branch, a branch for, I'm going to actually go up. I'm going to move smooth, like very smooth. Like, let me make sure. I want to make sure it's on the screen how everyone's doing. Who's D? Oh, who is D? That's what we're going to go over tomorrow. I'll show you tomorrow. Y'all willing, 3 p.m. Central Time, be here tomorrow, and I'll show you who D is. I'll show you exactly who D is, and you'll be very interested. If you like anime and all that stuff, you're probably like who I'm going to show you, who is D. And you probably, if someone already knows when I just said anime and all that stuff, you probably already know. That's the answer. That's who D is. So from this point right here, you'll get the split, and you'll get E right here, and then you'll get a line of D right here. Now, D has different branches. As you can see here, there's a different branch here and another branch here, which are going to have different lines and different things like that. But then you got some that's going to be your Asian lines. And you're going to have right here, you're going to have B. You see that split? So we just looked at E and D. There's another split right here. And then it's going to give us your, you can see right here, it's going to be your A right there. Then so you see this false stem right here? They'll try to throw a stem on there. You see that stem? That's false. That's a false stem. That's trying to tell you that it starts here. It does not start here. That's false. You don't go from Ham to Japheth. That's not how it works. And that's racial. That's actually Darwin's racial superiority. That's what that is. That false idea of racial superiority. But actually, for the sake of understanding, it actually begins and we're all equal for the sake of understanding. So we begin here and we actually spread out and we get B and we get A. And then from here, you're going to get CF. CF, remember, CF breaks into Japheth. And that's what this little thing is. There's a different one, A00. That's another story. I'll talk about that tomorrow for the sake of understanding. A00 is a different one. They call it A, but it's not even on the chart. It's not even on here. It doesn't even fit on here. It's impossible. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. So you can see right here, these branches. Just remember that. That's Ham, Shem, and Japheth. That's what we just put on the map. We just put Ham, Shem, and Japheth on the map. Let's open this. Now I hope you're a little more comfortable, you have a little more understanding of what's going on here, right? Let's point out everything that we have here, right? What is this? Ham, right? A and B, Hamites. What is this? Shem, E. E and D is Shem. And what is this? R. And remember, if it's not A, B, C, D, just remember that A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. If it's not A, B, C, or D, then it's going to be Japheth, right? If it's not A, B, C, or D. So that's why you see that C kind of in the middle there. I don't know what to do with C. C is in the middle. C is just there. We don't know what to do with C. C may be Japheth, maybe. Oh, maybe Shem. Who knows? So, but A, B, C, if it's not A, B, C, or D, right? If it's not A, B, C, or D, then it's going to be Japheth, right? Very important. Very, very, very important. So now, obviously, some people may have their own feelings with that, but as you see, we proved that with the chart. But let's continue on. We're going to show that that's indeed such and such. That is such and such. So Ishmael's over here, right? Ishmael. And we have some of the Egyptians in these areas over here. Remember, Ishmael had blend with them. He came a little bit one with them. So he had a one piece in there. What do we also see? It's also important to understand. We also have Hamites up here, the Hittites and stuff. Let's put that there. Why is that important? Because they're in the picture. You're probably going to get more used to the Bible because now you're going to know a lot of these names and who they are and stuff. Some of you are probably already familiar with it. So, but for those that's not familiar with it, they're going to get more familiar. Guess who merges with these up here? We actually got to put a couple E's over here. We got to put a couple E's. We have to put a few, right? We have to put a few E's over here. Why? Because we actually got a couple different people. Let me actually pull up another one. Remember, we did a live on the Valley of Jehoshaphat. I had put a map there that my wife had found. It was a very, very awesome, detailed map. When she had found it, I thought it was very interesting, very amazing. Let's go to it. Because maps is important, and understand, and don't get overwhelmed. If you feel overwhelmed, just say, "Can you slow down?" You kind of break that part down. I won't get mad. It's okay. We got time for you, for the sake of understanding, family. And don't be ashamed. I can't see you, right? I cannot see you, right? I cannot see you. You're more like a voice. We're all a voice, right? Just consider ourselves all a voice. We're freely speaking. Don't be ashamed of the gospel, right? The truth and all those things. Let's look at a map here. This is good, but probably not for our purpose. This is not going to be good for our purpose. We need a map of the time of Joshua. That's what we need. We need a map of the time of Joshua. Because remember, now they're coming out of Egypt. They're going to come out of Egypt. Now comes the time of Joshua. I just need a map before they get into the land. Let's see if we got one before they get into the land. I thought we would have here, but let's see. It shouldn't be too hard for the sake of understanding. In fact, I have one on here because I talked about them going into these lands and everything. It got to be one here. All right, we'll just work with this. This is fine. This is great. We'll work with this map. This is as simple as it gets. You see what you see here? You got the Ammonites, the Moabites, and the Edomites. You're going to see this all throughout the picture. There's also an extra one a little lower, which are the Amorites. Not the Amorites, the Amalek. Amalek, for the sake of understanding. Amalek is actually going to be close to the bottom for the sake of understanding. They're going to actually be somewhere closer when they're coming up. Because remember, they deal with them early on. They lay in wait. Amalek doesn't give nothing to Israel. Israel going through and they interact with them. They don't give nothing to them. And then Edom doesn't let them through because Edom is standing in the way of the Jordan. So Israel could have, because remember, they're taking over a big portion of the land. Israel was coming and wanted to go through. right? Let's go here. Israel wanted to go through, right? They wanted to go through this land. I'm gonna move this, make it wider. Is that everyone's doing? Can you see my question? Let me see. Did I see it? Let me see. Can you put magnifying glass on that circle for a minute? Yes. Magnifying glass on that circle. Okay. Wait. On what circle? I'm sorry, I missed your question. I'm sorry, I missed that. Let me do that. All right. On the circle. Let me think. Which circle was it? I probably missed it. Let me know. I'm gonna look at that. I'm guessing. Yep, that's right. He got it. David got it. He knew what I said when I said anime. He already knew. Yep. Like 5 seconds ago. Was it let me just process in my mind here. Was it I know I was on this thing. So just let me know where that's at. Cause I'm gonna close this because we don't need those maps. We don't need those maps there. Is it on this map? Is it on the map or is it on the animation? Let me see for the sake of understanding. But while you're messaging that, I'll just keep watch. Japheth. Okay, let's go back to that. Let's go back to that. Okay. Yeah, let's use the magnifying glass there. So tell me which one is it? This one? Just type a one as soon as you see the one I want to go to. Is it this one? Yep. Type a one. I'm over here. Yep. If it's this one, just type a one. Is it this one? Is it this one? Well, of course not this one. Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it just waiting because I know it kind of sends a delay. It shoots a delay out there. Over here, is it this one? Oh, it might be this. You said the circle, right? Here, I'll use the magnifying glass. Well, I can actually zoom in. We zoom in like this. So let's. So this is Japheth right here. I'm sure this is what you'll talk about. Did you want to see? Because these are, yeah, they do got names. They got some names here, but let's see. You can see a little bit names. Some may be familiar. You can see some of the Turks right here for the R a little bit. You could also see that for, down here, different ones, right? Went over that. We went over J and different things like that. If some of these look familiar to you. Now, if you see right here, some of these, like when you see Japanese and all that stuff like that, you got to look at the root. Make sure you look at the root one because some of these are merged, some of these are mixed in. Because you got to remember, some of these geneticists they don't look at the actual deep root of the original. They'll look at the modern people and they just throw on what you know. They'll throw up stuff that people know are familiar with. But I'll show you tomorrow when we go on the deep root. We'll look at the deep root and we'll actually pull out what they actually are. The pure line. They're pure line. That's always important because a lot of them are mixed. A lot of people here are mixed. A lot of people actually are mixed. So they would have, like someone could have R in them, but they're probably not majorly R. They're probably majorly S. Or someone might have a little C or a little M or something like that, but they're majorly J or something like that. Right. So sometimes you have stuff like that. I just wanted to zoom so you can see what's going on here. So you can see that. Yep. And I'll give you this. I'll give you this so you can zoom in on it and you can see it a little bit for yourself for these things. So you can see a little bit here. Iranian, different lines. Obviously, remember how I said they don't get super deep into those things, into the names and everything. So you can see these two branches are going to be separate, two different stems. This stems off. There's going to be E, B. There's going to be E1B1B and then E1B1A. And when you go see these are going to be different ones. And you gotta look at these things careful, right? They're missing some of the major ones. Like they put the Greeks here, ridiculous. You see how they put the Greeks there, right there? Are the Greeks E1B1B? No, the Greeks are not E1B1B. That's ridiculous. They may have E1B1B in them, but the Greeks are not E1B1B. For the sake of understanding, that's not their major line. All right, that's very important. We know that that's not what they are because we can confirm it genetically. They have already did multiple genetic studies on that. But again, this is just for reference. Don't worry a little bit too much about the names. More see these things in the branches. Right? These are things you got to go into deeper study on. Right? Genetics are not going to tell you exactly what historical quotes can tell you. Those are going to give you a little more closer understandings on the roots of people. That's why you got to, when you go about a study, you can't just look at one piece. You got to look at the genetics. You got to look at the historical quotes, and you got to look at a couple different things. Sometimes even linguistics. So just important to take note of that. Just want to show you that again one more time before I go back. Remember. You got A and B as Hamite. You're gonna have D and E as Shemite, and you're gonna have the rest as Japheth. Right? You can see those. You can see the stem because you can see the break right there. The 3-line break, just right there. Right? Very, very obvious for many geneticists, like the one who actually designed this thing. He color coded. I can't do nothing like that. I can't color coordinate these lines. I mean, I probably could if I probably get a what's it called, Photoshop and stuff. But I don't really know how to work Photoshop. I know how to work the phone. I just do stuff on phone. But to do this on the tool is actually, he's actually using the actual software and making it like that. So this person, I'll show you his name there. Actually, I think that's Dr. I think it's Nathaniel. Yeah, right there. Nathaniel, yeah. Jensen. Dr. Nathaniel Jensen, who did that. And that's a geneticist who actually did this. Really interesting. Really interesting stuff on this one. Just to show that. Just wanted to show that. Let's go back. Let's go back and get more deeper into this. So remember what we have here, right? Don't worry about the things on the side. Remember what those are. If someone comes in and don't know what's going on, just ask for the sake of understanding. Remember, that's going to be Abraham and his wife. And remember, he also got with his other wife, right? Very important to understand right there. So you can remember, that's very important to remember. Very, very, very important to remember. You know, somebody being pagan. All right, so you can see right here, E1B1B. We confirmed that, and many geneticists know it. They know that it's true. A lot of the real Ishmaelites are going to actually be E1B1B. Very important. And then you're going to also have, so Abraham, Sarah, and his wife, and you can see Isaac. He only had one. He always stayed, he was just one. And then that's going to go on to Jacob, right? Now, it's also going to be another E, because remember, well, E, obviously. This is E, this got to be E, these got to be E, for the sake of understanding. There's going to be another line, which is going to be of Ishmael, right? Let's put those 3 there. Remember, I just showed you that. Now let's get to the maps. I'm going to close this, so we don't need that. Now let's look at his maps. Ammonites, Moabites, and Edomites, and Amalekites. Now, what's important about this? This is important because if we need to know who these individuals are, in fact, just for the sake of understanding so someone don't get confused on it, these are Shemites. Remember, these going to be Shemites, right? The Ammonites and the Moabites came from Lot, the grandson of the nephew of Abraham, right? The nephew of Abraham is going to be Lot, where the Moabites and the Moabites and the Ammonites came from. And then remember, Abraham has Isaac. Isaac have Jacob, right? Isaac actually has 2 sons. Rebecca brings forth 2 sons, twins, right? She brings forth twins, genetically the same, twins, right? They're going to be twins. So if they're twins, they're going to be the same line, right? Esau is going to be right here, right? That's going to be Edom. That's very important to understand. So if Edom's here, it's also going to have Amalek. Amalek is part of Edom. It's important to understand. But they became apparently their own group because remember, Edom actually made it. Let's go back to here. What did Edom do? What women did he get? Edom got 2 different types of women. Edom got women from Ishmael, and he got women from the Hittites. So he got women from the Hittites and he got women from Ishmael. Always remember that. Edom got women from Ishmael and he got women from the Hittites. So that's just important to note. Just make sure to note that. I'm gonna put this here. So they gotta be E because Ishmael is E, right? If Ishmael is E, these are E. So these are gonna be Amorites, Moabites, and Edomites, right? Very important. Now, what do we need to know? We need to know. In fact, let's put this. Let's put a A here. I don't want to make it too confusing. I don't know if I want to put an A there. I don't know if I want to put an A there. I'll just leave it like that. Just know. I'll just color coordinate it. Maybe I'll make a note and make a color coordinated note for the sake of understanding. But we'll put the Ammonites as blue, and we'll put the Moabites as yellow, and we'll put the Edomites as red because Edom is red. All right, just make it a little easy. So you're gonna have 3 different groups there, and remember, let's split that. Now, Edom, if Edom had children with them, guess what happens in ancient days when you have children with someone? They see it as an alliance. They see it as alliance. So Edom's gonna have some people, some of his family is gonna end up moving over here. It's gonna happen. And now the problem is over here though, it's gonna be destroyed. It's gonna be taken by the Philistines. They're going to actually invade this area and they're going to own this area. So that's actually going to cause Edom not to have a strong reign over here. It's not going to have a strong reign over here. In fact, when it's a question if he's still over here. We don't know if he's over here for the sake of understanding because the Bible doesn't tell us exactly if they're over here. We just know that they're mainly down these areas. So I'm just going to put them a little. I'll just put them right here just for the sake of understanding, just for that curiosity. And I'm going to put the Philistines up here too. So who do we got going on over here? We got Ham, Shem, and Japheth up here. And guess what? Guess what this area was? Around these areas was Babylon. Babylon was over here in these areas. Up past these areas, you'll have Babylon, right? Babylon was somewhere over here. And also, when I'm talking about Babel, for the sake of understanding, the Tower of Babel. Remember the Tower of Babel? After they got off the boat of Noah, it was up here in Mount Ararat, and they also built Babel somewhere over here, right? And then the Lord split them, and that's when they went. Ham, Shem, and Japheth went their way. But over here, there was like a mingled company. It was getting really mingled over there. That's very important to know, right? Amen. Just seeing how everyone's doing. Make sure I look over, see how everyone's doing. I gotta look over to another phone to make sure I see what's going on. So if I do miss it, I'm gonna make sure I look more. I'll make sure I look more often. No, this. I'll just put it down here. Okay. So remember, Edom, right? I mean, we don't want to do that. Now, Israel is where? Down here. And now this is the time of now's the time of Joshua. Now they're gonna come up, right? Because Moses, when Moses was going, guess what Moses was doing? He was going at him like this. This is how Moses was going at him. Just imagine it being like this, like he was just going at it, and everyone down here they were just getting it. And then he ended up settling in the land of Moab, right? He ended up being around these areas, but he did not cross the Jordan. They didn't cross the Jordan yet, but they were around these areas. That's where Israel was until the time of Joshua. To the time of Joshua, before they crossed the Jordan. You see the Jordan, the name Jordan right there? Let me actually, well, I can't use the magnifying thing on this, I think. Well, I probably could if I make it like this. You can see the Jordan. Now this, let me actually open up a map. I'll let that open. And oh, here we go. Okay, we'll just use this. So Israel's over here. Israel's in this area right here. See, look, that's why the computer's nice. It got a nice pointer already built in. So you can see Israel's going to come from this area and is going to fight against the Edomites and the Moabites. Remember the big story about the Moabites? Remember what the Lord said? Remember what Balak did? Remember what Balak did? He wanted to curse you, but the Lord turned it to a blessing. Remember that happened? Because they were constantly trying to get over the Jordan. That's what they wanted to do, get over the Jordan so they can go fight against the Canaanites. There were Canaanites in this area and the Philistines. Now the Canaanites and the Philistines, they're mingling. They're all in these areas and they're mingling. But mainly the Canaanites and the Philistines have a separation because we can see the separation mainly in this time. They're going to mingle throughout later on. There's late Philistines and there's early Philistines. That's important to note. A lot of people note that when they actually dig them up, there's early Philistines and there's late Philistines. There's a mixture of Philistines and a non-mixture of Philistines. Very important to note. Now, Edom's over here, right? Edom's right here, and then Moab right here, and then Israel's now going to try to make its way through. Now let's get to the time of Joshua, and let's talk about what's going to happen here, for the sake of understanding. This right here, don't mind what you're seeing here, but this Judah, don't mind for the sake of understanding. I don't want to confuse you for the sake of understanding. This thing, sometimes this thing opens, sometimes it doesn't. Otherwise, I can open it on my phone, and I know it'll open on there. Let me see what you said. I have a question. If Ishmael was born before Jacob, why is he Ishmael E1B, and Israel, who came later, would be? Yes, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So let's look at that real fast. Let's take a look on why that is. That's a great question. Now we can touch on this because someone asked a question. Remember, he asked a question. We're going to answer the question, right? We're going to do it in fairness. Let's go down and look at this. As some brothers or some individuals, they get some type of way when you look at genetics. But remember, it's in the Bible. Ham, Shem, and Japheth is in the Bible, and it's evident. It's evident. So let's look at this. How can Ishmael be a different branch and then this one be a different branch? Let's look at that. Let's go to a more detailed of the line of Abraham. Now, for the sake of understanding, if you don't agree, just stick with it. Just stick with it. Don't get upset. We're gonna actually show the Ashkenazi line. If we don't do it today, we'll do it tomorrow. For the sake of understanding, we're just building up. We're working our way up, and we're gonna work with the Ashkenazi line. That's what we're gonna do. I'm going to work with the Ashkenazi line. I'm gonna show you, because understand, I see the Ashkenazi line. We're gonna work with it. We're gonna work with it. And I'm gonna show you how that works out. So this is Abraham. This is actually Abraham. Now, some people said Abraham was E1. There's a problem with that. There's a big problem because we know this is confirmed to be Ishmael. This is confirmed to be Ishmael. Now, Ishmael is a brother of Isaac, right? Ishmael's a brother of Isaac. This is going to be Isaac. Isaac actually is E1B1A. Now, this is going to be Jacob. Now, let me show you, because on a long time ago, you got to look at the newer update of the chart. Of older charts, you'll see there's a missing stem here. So it'll be like Abraham, and then where's the missing stem? But now the newer charts, this is a real genetic information. There's a chart that breaks off. So this is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then you get the 12 patriarchs right off of them. Now, obviously, for the sake of understanding, that's for those that are familiar with these things. If you're not familiar with it, for the sake of understanding, just stick with it. Just understand. You're going to see. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you these things. So you can see right here. Now let's look at this. I'm gonna go to the actual site one because I'm extremely familiar with it. So let me go to the site where this is quoted. I'm hoping that I help myself and put the actual site right under it. If not, that's okay. That's all right. We'll figure it out. All right. I see that I gave myself a hard time with this. That's all right. Let me see if it's this one. Maybe it is. Okay, there it is. I usually cite, you always got to cite sources. Any source you show, anything you show, make sure to cite sources. Let's look at this. Let me see if I can open this thing. Open image in new tab. What if I want to open it on this tab? Okay, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this thing. Okay, so let's look at this. So this is Abraham, because we know that Abraham has to be the father of Ishmael. He has to be the father of Ishmael. We confirm that this is Ishmael, right? And notice the different trees. There's nothing here. They're separated. These groups are going to be separate from these groups. These are going to be two different groups. Now, remember, who's Ishmael's brother? Isaac. Isaac's going to be his brother, right? But if we got to look at the updated one right here. So Isaac's going to be his brother. And then who Isaac gives birth to? Jacob. This is going to be Jacob, M2. M2 is Jacob. At first, when you see this M2, you would think that this M2 was Isaac. But actually, there's an extra one right here. V35. This V35 is actually this one right here. And this is actually, this is all this confirmed just for the sake of understanding. I just want you to know the line that we're looking at are found. They're found in Israel. They're found in the land of Israel. Let me show you that, just for anyone who is curious. Like, well, how do we know that E is actually it? You know, what? How do we know that that's true and whatnot? Stick with me. Let me show you something for the sake of understanding. Let me show you these are called, I'm gonna show you something of they're called this right here. Actually, I'll go to right here. Let me click this. E1A is found in the Levant, what is called the Levant, right? They're in the Natufian. People call them Natufian. They call them Natufian. They call them the original people that was in that land, ancient people that was in that land, and they are E1A. That's what they have, E1A. And I just want to show you, just to confirm that, to show that they are E1A. Let me actually use this. Find on site, on page. E1B1. There, you see that? That E1B1A, that E1B1, that breaks into E1B1A and E1B1B. This one breaks into E1B1A, E1B1A, and it breaks into E1B1B. And they find it in the Levant, in the land of Israel. So you can see, going back up here, this is a picture where they find it. You can see those red dots right there. That's where they find it right there. You can see, just right there, those dots. That's where they find them, in the land of Israel. It's confirmed. It's the actual real genetic information that they know they find this in that area. Is without a doubt in these certain caves right here. See, like those caves right there? That's where they find them. That's where they find that at. Just want to show you that that is indeed, the lines that we're looking at are extremely potential for the sake of understanding, extremely potential. But let's go back and look at this, because I want to answer our beloved brother's question. See, I heard other teachers say Ishmael is a mingled or mixed seed through Shemite, and they refer Edom as. Yep, I've seen that. Why is that a problem? If Edom was E1B1B, then how many people are E1B1B? Right? And then we got what they haven't did is that they are guessing. They're doing a guessing game. They're not looking at the actual E1B1B line. They're not seeing who is E1B1B, and why are you saying that they're E1B1B, right? And the problem with that is that even if they try to say Ishmael mixed with Edom, we're looking at the Y chromosome, right? The Y chromosome is of the male line, right? Edom would be his own line under Jacob. And think about that. He's a twin of Jacob. He's a twin. So how can he be a whole different line if he's a twin of Jacob? We got to think about that. But let me show you something. Let's go and let's look at it. A lot of like I seen you probably seen that YouTube site. Like it's really easy to find that one Facebook page. Someone does a design, he makes his own creative design that he just throws on what looks like the tribes and whatnot. He throws them on there, and that's wrong. That's completely wrong. But let's look at the people who is actually the Somali. Now we can just take a look at them. We just take a look. You have to say every one of these are Edom. That's what they would have to say, is that every one of these who are Muslim Arabs, they have to say that they're Edom. That's what they would have to say, and that's a problem. That's a major problem, because then who is the Arab? If these are going to be Edom, then who's going to be Ishmael, right? If these are going to be clearly of the Arabic line, and their history matches all the way to the time of Abraham. All their history, we can trace it, just like that live I did, a 4-hour live. We follow their history all the way to the time of Abraham with the quote from Flavius Josephus. We follow them all the way, and we can follow their genetics. Even if we can follow their genetics, and the people in the land of the, like, for example, let's just type the classic, what usually people agree as an Arab. Let's just type it down. Let's just put Arab Y. Let's go to Arab. I just put that all wrong. Right. Let's go down. Okay, let's see if we got a nice pie tree. Okay, see, here's a pie tree. This is an Arab pie tree. Now, in Morocco, in the land of Morocco, they know that there's Arabs there. It's without a doubt. There's Arabs there because there was a siege that happened. There was a battle, a historic battle that happened with Spain and the Muslims. Is without a doubt is historically recorded. You probably heard of it, where they was pushed out in 1492. They were pushed out of Spain, and they know that they settled in Morocco. Their main line is E. Is without a doubt. It's E1B1B. This is their main line right here. So you can see they're none of these, but their line is E1B1B. Here's another one. E1B1B, and then different branches, one right there, and we can look at those branches and and get the understanding of those branches. So you can see right here, and this is also good too. This is a really good question, family, because this is good for anyone who hasn't seen the live of this, who haven't seen this live. Now they're gonna see what this information is right here. Oh, this one doesn't have the little. Oh, there it is. I was gonna say. So you can see right here the branches. It branches off. M35, we find that in a lot of people. This is the real Ishmaelite line that leads off the private one, but these are Ishmaelites too. These are the Y chromosome that leads down right there. You can see this is a real Y chromosome group. And we know that they are the same ones because we can follow them throughout history. We can follow who they are. It's not hard to find because they make a big deal out of them, right? In Israel, they fight against them. The lighter skinned Ishmaelites. The lighter skinned Ishmaelites are real Ishmaelites. They're real Ishmaelites. They're actually real Ishmaelites. Though they're lighter skinned, they're mixed a little bit, but these are the pure ones. The pure ones, these are the pure ones. This is what they look like. So these are real Ishmaelites. These are actually what real Ishmaelites look like. You can kind of get a look at them. They kind of got their own look, a very distinct look, right? Very close pack. Because remember, what did it say about Ishmael? He had 12 sons. So now someone might have a problem on finding the 12 sons of Ishmael. How can you find the 12 sons of Ishmael? A lot of people try to say this. Let me show you what they do. Where there's no evidence. There's zero evidence for that. Zero. There's none. There's absolutely no evidence genetically and any other wise that E1A is Ishmael. There's no way. But we have evidence for E1B being Ishmael. We have E1B being the real Arabs, the ones that have moved to the Middle East, that's actually settled historically in the Arabian, the Felix, the Felix of Arabia, right? Arabian Felix, for the sake of understanding. And those are going to be the real E1B1B. They know who those are, the real Ishmaelites. So you can see the idea of that. So the reason why some say that Esau is E1B1B is because I'm gonna show you what someone did. This person, he just messed up. He I don't know why they did this. Let me show you. So just type it down. It's an easy search, and then you find this. And then everyone ran with it because once a few people found it, and everyone just said, "I agree, I agree, I agree, I agree." No one proved it. No one actually sat and proved it historically. This one's not such a great. This one's low quality. But let's look at this. Let's take a look at this and see what's the problem here. You see that E1A? Remember how I showed you that on that E1A? Right here at E1A right there. No evidence. None. There's absolutely no evidence to make those connections right there. None. There's absolutely none. That's very. In fact, look at you. If you try to follow it, it's going to lead you in a different direction. So what they did, they made Abraham E1. Now let's go over here and let's look at the problem with that. You see E1 right there? They moved Abraham one back. E1. That's gonna leave an extra space. That's gonna leave an extra space here. Let's look at that if we did that. Abraham, Isaac. Let's look at that. What they did there. I'm gonna show you that is wrong. So Abraham, Isaac, E1A. I mean E1B, E1B right there. Let's go to the thing right here. You can see E1A. They would say this would be Abraham, and then they'll say this would be Isaac. E1B. See that E1B? See that B extra B on there? Now this has E1B1 right there. But that's just what it is. E1B is what you'll also say. You can also say E1B, and that's how they understand it. Someone can understand it like that. E1B would be the branch off of E1. So you can see that right there. So that's why you put E1B coming off of E1. right there. Now let's see what's after that. What's following? E1A. Let's take a look and see that if that's what we get. E1, and then E1B, and then we got E1A. Okay, that's great. That's what we want to see. Okay, we got E1A. That is E1A though the branches? No, because if we look at M2, there's a space. Then there's a space. There's an extra space there. Let's look at that. So this is actually what we was looking at. You got that? This actually this is the start. This is the real start, but they go an extra mile back. So there's an extra one right here. They go to E1. They go to E1 because remember P2. You see that P2? Now understand for those that's watching, just stick with me. I'm just gonna show this for 5 minutes, real fast, for the sake of understanding. Be real quick. If you don't understand it, just hold on for a second. It's gonna be very very strong. So right here P2. P2 is actually really where Abraham is. That's where it actually starts. But they don't start at P2. They start a little bit back. What's the problem there? Let's follow the trail. P2 goes, E1 goes to P2. P2 goes to another one. Then there's a space. There's a space here. There's a space there. So who's this? Who's this one? Who's M2? Who's this M2 that comes from Jacob? So this is Jacob. This is gonna be, you can see you're gonna have E1, P2, and you're gonna have E1B, right? E1B, which is being later on, right? E1B, and you got E1B, 1A, right? Because that's an extra space. This actually changed it. Now, like this, in the older one, it works out a little bit. You're gonna have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then you got the 12. That's not actually what it was. They found out there's actually an extra one in there, and that changes it a lot. That changed the whole thing. So this, at first, that worked out a little bit, but that also caused a major problem with who is Ishmael. This one actually corrects the understand and shows you that Ishmael is of the line of Abraham. This actually shows you that. Otherwise, they would try to say this would be, which would also be doesn't make any sense. Because look at this. If this right here, P2, brings forth this one, then this one has to be, this one right here has to, for the sake of understanding, because if they go back and put E1 and then put this one as Isaac, right? Got a problem. We got a problem because then you'll say that this gonna be Esau, which we have no evidence of that being Esau, especially when we look at the historical evidence of this line here. And then we're going to have a different branch over here and in different ways. So I just want to show you that it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out at all. It doesn't work out historically, and it doesn't connect with all the pieces. There's only one way to connect with all the pieces. But I just wanted to clear it up for you. So the clarity, I'll show you the clarity just for the sake of understanding. Here's the clarity. For those who don't agree, just understand we're going to work our way through it. It's P2, and then it's V38, which is going to be Isaac, and then you're going to have Jacob, M2. And you're going to have Jacob. Remember, they're twins. These have to be twins, right? But these aren't twins on this branch. That's the problem too. These can't be twins. Where is it? Right here. If they say that Esau is E1B1, if they say E1B1B, that's not a twin branch. That's not a twin. That's a whole different. That's a different son. He has his own little thing. He's a separate thing. But if we look closely at Esau, it's very closely related with his. But so Esau is actually E1B1C. That's actually what Esau is. That's why I found Esau is actually not E1B1B, but E1B1C. That's actually what Esau is, E1B1C. But remember, throughout the scriptures, Amalek was destroyed, Esau was destroyed. But Esau, understand, when we get to the time of Herod, Herod was mixed. It's important to understand throughout the history. If you look at the Armenians, Herod had took over the land of the what's the word I'm looking for? The Romans. He ended up merging with the Romans, ended up going up there. His children ended up ruling in Armenia. You can look up that. That's actual evident. That's an evident history. Just look up Herod's reign in Armenia. Look up Herod's reign in Armenia, and you'll see that he was merging with the Armenians, which is Japheth. So that's why they say Rome is actually Edom. And the reason why is because they cursed themselves by saying it's through the mother's line, because that's what they did. They mixed through the mother's line, because it's actually is evident that the people gave their women to each other. They were giving their women to each other. And that's how they merged. They ended up merging together through the woman's line, not the male's line, but they merged the woman's line and then cursed themselves by saying it's through the mother's line. So it's prophetic, but it's on levels when it comes to that. So I guess that's another way, I guess, to look at it for the sake of understanding. But he's not E1B1B. This is actually false. This chart, a lot of people ran with this, and it's not right. You gotta get rid of it. We gotta do whatever we can to get brothers off of this chart. This thing is absolutely wrong. It doesn't work out. So you can see that's the reason why, because of this. A lot of brothers they teach it. They're right about the E1B1A. They're right about that. That's probably why they're trying to link the other thing. But if they actually use Ishmael, it'll confirm their finds. It actually confirms their finds, because if Ishmael is E1B1B, which everyone agrees to, every geneticist agrees that the Muslim, right, the Arabian, the pure Arabian, they are going to be E1B1B, is without a doubt. They know it. They also mix with J and different lines like that, but that's mixing because of the Turkish conquest. That's why we did that 4-hour live of E1B. Is a confirmation that the Turks, which are J, without a doubt, they mixed in with E1B1B, and they mixed in, they became one, and they started mixing obviously with European, all different stocks. So that's why they're lighter skin, and you have certain lines. And a lot of people became racist, and they liked those that were lighter skin, and they obviously conditioned breeding, right? If you got a pit bull, someone doesn't want a golden retriever, right? If they got a golden retriever, they don't want a pit bull. It's like that. It's kind of like that type of thing. They want to breed them to how they are, and that's where you get those racial segregation. Even though they're the same people, but they're different colors. So I guess that's one way to look at it with that, for the sake of understanding. Same people. A lot of people be the same people, but they're racist against their own people because they're a different color, and they're the same genetically. All of them just come from the same stock, but different females. Females change. Females will change their color. Like, for example, you have the same Y chromosome, but if you get, like, for example, let's say if this person was dark and these females were light skinned, guess what they'll have? Light skinned children. In fact, my wife, I'm a little darker. I'm not really dark. I'm like, I guess, who can I compare it to? I'm not really familiar with actors and stuff like that, but I guess I'll show you something. Um, I guess this like this. I'll use me for example. I'll use me for example. Here's me. I'm right there. That's me, and that's my son right there. I'm gonna go to another one because just because. Uh, am I on this? Okay, yeah. I was just making sure the screen was on real fast. Where's the camera? Right there. Click that. So that's me right there. No, you can laugh if you want. It's me. So it's me. And then look at my son. And my wife is she's lighter skin. She's more of a lighter skin. She's not on here, but that's my son right there. I'll just I guess just play it. So that's my son. You just turn it down. Well, I can't turn it down for some reason. I can't turn it down. But that's my son. You can see he's more lighter skin. But he's because the reason why he's like that is because my wife, she's lighter. My wife is lighter skin. So he's lighter skinned too. So if let's say if someone was with a white person, right, Caucasian, or what you want to say, uh, whatever line, a lighter skinned person, you'll have a lighter skinned baby, but you'll have the same Y chromosome. You'll have the same Y chromosome, but you'll have different things going on there, right? So that's just a way. I guess that's a way to put it. I guess that's a way to put it. So sometimes you'll have lighter skinned people, but they have the same Y chromosome, right? If someone now understand this, if Israel is the real Israel and they mix with women, they'll have the same Y chromosome no matter what. They wouldn't have multiple Y chromosomes. They'll have one Y chromosome, one or maybe two or three at the most, or four at the most. If they have five, then it's getting intensive. It's getting intense. That's something you got to question if it's Israel, because that wouldn't make any sense. If they are Israel and they only mix with the women, you only have one or two Y chromosome groups, which maybe you'll have an A and an R. Maybe you'll have an A and an R there, because R is for the sake of understanding, is going to be your European. And we know that they were mixing. We know that had happened, and they mixed with Hamites obviously early in the scripture. So you're going to see them mixed with Ham. They're going to be most likely a darker skin when we understand the actual understanding of the Bible. That's what happens, because they were mixing with the darker skinned women. They're going to be darker skin if they were mixing with darker skinned women. If they were mixing with Hamite women, how do you think they're going to look? right? If they have darker women, you're gonna have darker children. You have lighter women, you have lighter children. It's just one of those things that can happen. But we gotta look at the Y chromosome to see if we actually have a pure line in them. We gotta see if we have a pure line and what that line is connected to, and that's how you know who they are. I guess that's just a way to put that into understanding, because just understand Y chromosome, X chromosome, two different ones. The X, it only changes the not. It doesn't change what group it is, but it will change a mutation. It will change the mutation, and that's what these are. These are mutations. See, it's still an E, but you get different branches, different mutation. They call it a mutation. It mutated, so now it's different. It mutated, now it's different, right? You have you have a child, and the Y chromosome mutates, and you have a different one. So you can see that's what that is. A snap was what they call them. Just different things changing. But these are haplogroups. These are going to be haplogroups, different groups. Haplogroups are going to be the letters, the actual letters there. There's going to be the different Y chromosomes that's going to be on there. So I guess if that makes sense for the sake of understanding. So again, getting back to the reminder of where we're at. So you see, we're getting deep into these things, and we're answering questions. We're touching on these things and stuff. Shalom, family. Shalom, shalom, shalom. So I just wanted to show you that. Amen. Amen. Any more questions, ask, and we'll touch on it. We'll get real deep onto it. So right here, we got let me make sure I can see this. Okay. I thought I disconnected, but my phone was disconnecting. Right. The Y carries, hence we have the same who is Israel, but look white. That's right. That's right. That's right. So it's possible to have an Israelite who's Israel and looks white. It's possible, but then we got to make sure we got to look at that Y chromosome just to double check to make sure that's actually what's going on there. Because we don't want some random person popping out of the blue and saying I'm Israel, and their Y chromosome paints a different picture. So that's why it's important to look at some of these things. Obviously, before a long time ago, someone said that there's nothing you can do, but now no one can get away with just saying I'm such and such and such and such, because now you can do genetic tests to see who they are. Let's close this. And this, it's gonna close a few of these so it's not so confusion. So remember, we went over that. I'm gonna close this too. And I'll close this so it's not confusing. Okay, let's get back to this. Get back to this. Make sure this is up. Okay. Right here. So I'm gonna animate this. You're helping. You know what you're doing? You're helping me make an animation. That's what you're doing. You're helping me. And when you see all this gonna be done, you're gonna see the whole thing in the illustration of truth. That's what you're gonna see in the illustration of truth for clarity. So you see what? And I'll put like a little key on the side and say who is who and whatnot. And instead of like a time, some people show like a map throughout all of history. But what I'm going to show you is Israel, the Y chromosome, tracing the Y chromosome of Israel. Right? These are E. How do we know these are E? Because these are E. These got to be E. Why wouldn't they be E? That would make no sense. It would make absolutely no sense for this to be Shem and then have a J here or a R or something else. But understand, I don't want to jump too ahead. If someone does believe that, for the sake of understanding, we'll build on it. We'll actually build on it, and I'll show you. We'll build on it. We're going to build on it for the sake of understanding. We'll build on every one of them. We'll build on J, R, all those things, and I'll show you with each one of those things what works out and what doesn't for the sake of understanding. Watch what happens here. So now we have, remember who we have. We have Esau, right? And then we're going to have Esau down here. Let me actually go right here. It's also important for me to put Amalek. Remember, Amalek is going to be here. And there's a point when they get attacked and they get destroyed. They're actually lower down this area. See how, and that's why they couldn't just go up into Canaan. And the reason why, because remember what God said? He said, lest they see war. Why did he say lest they see war? Because who was warring? Who was actually warring down there? The Amaleks, and most likely, for the sake of understanding, the Amaleks or the Canaanites or the Philistines. These could have been fighting over there because remember, there was war going on. He said, lest they see war. And we know that Egypt wasn't fighting at that time because it's actually recorded that the Egyptians settled the Philistines in that land, just settled them and just left them. Just left them there. In fact, they kind of left them there as a guard over the land because they were just so strong. The Philistines were strong people. They were always strong people. Japheth was always a strong people, very strong. They had iron before anyone else had iron. They had many things before many other people had things. They were strong in their self. But Egypt was also strong. So a lot of these nations were very strong. But you know who was weak? Shem. Shem was extremely weak. You know why Shem was weak? Because the Lord led Shem. Remember what the Lord said? I didn't choose you because you were strong or better than everyone else. He chose them because he had mercy on them, right? I just want to address that. Shalom, family. Shalom. So we got Edom. Use this mouse. Edom right here. There's going to be Amalek right here. In fact, I'll just make Amalek a little different so it's not too confusing that we got another Edom down there. And someone say, why is there another E at the bottom? But let's make that a different color. Let's make that a different color. Actually, for this, because understand, this is not this what you're seeing here. Some of them are haplogroup groups, but I'm going to just put I'll just put some abbreviations here. I'll just put AMK for Amalek. Okay, so this is AMK. I'm just gonna type down Edom. I'll just put Edom wrong. All right, Edom, right? I'll just put Edom right here. Now, obviously, these are not true to the map because I'm not putting them exactly in their exact location, though we can, but just know that they're pretty much at their location. So you see how this area is surrounded? That's what Israel had to go through. Because what was their promise? Remember their promise? Israel's promise? Israel had a promise for their promised land, and they had to go through those. And those are their brothers, right? God didn't want them to fight at first. He wanted them to go through. He wanted them to go to their land, but he kept getting mad with them because they kept on being how they were. What is this? Moab. These are their brothers. Remember, God said, don't, he even said, don't fight with the Moabites. Remember, he said that? He said, I'm not going to give you their land. He said, don't fight with the Moabites because I'm not going to give you their land. Right? Let them have their land. Or was that, I want to make sure I'm quoting that right. Or was that Amalek? I mean, not Amalek, the Moabites. No, that was not the Moabites. That was the Moab. That was, I mean, not, I say the Moabites, the Ammonites. Was that the Ammonites or the Moabites? I'll put Ammon. I believe that was, I'm just going to say that was the Moabites. I believe that was the Moabites for the sake of understanding. Sometimes it gets hard to remember while I'm illustrating, animating at the same time, because then I have a different mind. But I can double check. Let's double check. That's just confirmed for the sake of the lie, because we don't want to guess. Let's see. Just think about how that was. I know it was in Exodus. You see, it says right there, he gave them the land of Canaan. Remember, Canaan was in past the Jordan. Remember, it was get past the Jordan. But I'm looking for Moab. Let's see if that was said to Moab. There it is. Yes, the Moabites right there. See what it says right there? He says, and the Lord said to me, distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle, for I will not give you of their land for a possession, because I have given to the children of Lot for a possession. How kind is the Lord? Understand, if you follow the whole story, the Lord is kind. He gave mercy to the Moabites and the Ammonites, and they was actually inbreed. They were inbred. They would actually, it's a deep story to that, but that had happened, and the Lord gave mercy to them. He gave mercy to the Moabites. He gave mercy to them, and they oppressed the people. It happened. This is also important to help you with the story. What actually happened there? The picture of the story. So Moabite had their own land. So you see, all these were shielded. It's almost like a shield. Can you see that? All this was cut off, but Israel's promised land was right here. So they was going to be all a family. That's what the Lord wanted, for them to all be in their own area. And did you know the Lord said Edom can also enter into them? He said, remember what I'm saying? Few people know this, and a lot of people get very very wicked. A lot of camps, it's like they don't even look at the law. I'm gonna show you something. Um, the Egyptians, because the Lord, he's God. He's not man. Look what he says right here. You shall not abhor. And what does abhor mean? You shall not hate. You shall not hate or do evil to. Right. You shall not abhor the Edomite, for he is your brother. He indeed is your brother. He's your twin. He's your twin brother. You come from the same stock. He says, you shall not abhor the Edomite, for he is your brother. You shall not abhor the Egyptian, because you was a stranger in his land. Well, you would think he'd be mad because you was a stranger in his land. But if you actually look at how the Egyptians actually treated Israel, they actually treated Israel really good, besides the slavery in some parts. Because when Israel actually starts getting settled down, it's kind of like now Israel's kind of settling down. They was in a slavery. They was in a slavery, for the sake of understanding. And then what happened? Israel started eating good. They was settled. They was playing games. They was having a great time, enjoying movies and shows and the riches of Egypt. And then they got called out of the land. Some was ready. Some was in the captivity and was glad to come out. Some of them was enjoying Egypt. Some of them was enjoying Egypt and didn't want to come out of Egypt. They wanted to go back into Egypt. That's why they kept saying, "We want to kill us in the wilderness. Send us back to Egypt." Yo, you trying to kill us? Send us back to Egypt. Just send us there. Let's go in Egypt and have some hard times, because they had a great time in Egypt. In fact, that's why they said they cried at one point and said, "We remember the food that we had there. We remember the this and this and this." And the Lord was furious. He was so angry because he was going to give them better than that. That was nothing compared to what the Lord was going to give them. He was so angry, and that's what happened, because they didn't appreciate what the Lord had did when he was actually saving them from the captivity that they was in. You got to remember that for the Israel that's in the land in Babylon, a lot of Israel today is getting used to Babylon, enjoying the games and movies and holidays and seasonal things and all types of pagan things. And when the Lord comes, they might not even want to go. They might be like, I like playing Duke Nukem, and I want to play Doom and all that stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's what people are getting used to. Some people are getting used to some stuff like that. I want to still, celebrate Santa Claus and those things and whatnot. The Lord's not, he's going to change everything. So when the Lord gathers you, when you go to the wilderness, just let him guide you. Let him guide you. When the Lord does what he's going to do with you, let him guide you through it. And he's going to help you change your ways, right? Because the Lord is good. If you actually follow the Bible all the way, God is good throughout the whole Bible. But remember, the Canaanites, the reason why he was given the land of Canaanites, because they were sacrificing their babies. They were sacrificing their babies. That's why he said, don't do what they do. That's why he said, I'm going to send you to his land. Remember that thing that he said? He said, when I send you into the land, don't marry them. Don't intermingle with them, because they're going to cause you to sin. And they did. They caused them to sin. They caused them to worship idols. And they weren't just worshiping idols. They were sacrificing people. They were doing all types of abominations, all types of levels of abominations, because their gods were saying, oh, it's all right. Oh, I love you because you sacrifice your baby. Wickedness. That's why the Lord didn't want them to do that. And now you understand more deeper things. A lot of you already know this stuff. But right here, he didn't want to he didn't send them to kill the Ammonites and the Moabites and the Edomites and at the beginning. They were all okay in the beginning, but it was like they were angry because they seen Israel coming to go in this land. And they was and remember what happened? He's like, can I go through? Can I just, he was like, remember that saying when he said he came to Edom and they said, let them go through. They want to go through, but Edom said no, and they was going to fight them. Edom was going to fight with them, and then Israel said, no, we're going to keep going. And they kept going, and then that's when they went to Moab. That's when they went to Moab, and then they had to go through Moab, battling Moab. But remember, the Lord wasn't going to give them to them. But then they did what they did. They cursed. Moab tried to hire somebody from Moab to curse Israel. But they were blessed. Remember, they were blessed to sit here so that everyone could be blessed in these lands, so everyone could shine out like a light, because the Lord had dedicated people to guide them so that they themselves can be that independent design that the Lord said, the stressing design that the Lord had designed, right? Taking Aaron, all those things and whatnot. Because remember, he had took them in the land. Remember, he had dedicated Aaron and Moses and all those things. And they was a holy people. There was going to be a holy people that's going to be there. It's going to be like God on earth. It's going to bring God on earth. That's why the temple was going to be built. And that's why they had a tabernacle. They was coming with a tabernacle and showing that God was coming through to settle in the land, right? It's deep, deep. That's why this genetic information is very deep. It gets really deep. See that? family. These are family. They were all family. They were all together. The Lord didn't want to kill them, but they were wicked. They became wicked. They didn't want them to come through the land, and they didn't want them to cross over to Jordan and settle in Canaan. But the Lord was going to destroy them. And remember, these ones are super strong. These ones, in fact, I don't know if it's still true because I've seen some things where they said they debunked it. Apparently, the Canaanites came into Egypt and took Egypt for a little bit. Not for a long time, but they came and took Egypt for a little bit. Probably did. They probably did come into Egypt and took a little bit of Egypt. And obviously, if you know, the Philistines had weapons of iron, and no one had weapons of iron in this time besides them. Do you know what iron does to bronze? Splits it in half, destroys it. They'll if you had a bronze shield versus an iron sword, that shield's gonna be split in half, and you're gonna be slaughtered. That's what they had. They had iron weapons and iron chariots and stuff like that. And it talked about that. Like for example, let me show you where it says about the iron chariot. Right? They were strong back then. Iron was a big thing. Just type iron and look what it says about iron. There's a lot of interesting sayings about iron of the old days. You look at stuff like the Iron Age and things like that. See what he's saying there? Break the pride of iron and all the different things like that. Let's go to a interesting saying. That's why the Lord even talked about not to smite no one with a tool of iron, because their intentions is to overcome them and kill them. So that's why they don't use a tool of iron. Let's see, because they're brothers. They were actually family. The Lord didn't want their family to be killing each other. Let me see, where is it? Right somewhere in Joshua. Right here. See what it says? The Canaanites. It says, "For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land." Who you think all the inhabitants of the land were? Also the Philistines. The Canaanites and the Philistines were in that land, right? You can think about like America and stuff like that. It was like settled in their little own area. So the Canaanites and the Philistines, it says, "And all the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it and shall say," well, I just clicked that. Let me make sure. Look at the part. Let me actually go to a certain one. This one's good too, but let me go to a certain one. I'm looking for a certain scripture. Right here. Okay. Watch what it says right here. Right here. And all the children of Joseph said, right? The children of Joseph, that's Ephraim and Manasseh. It said, all the children of Joseph said, the hill is not enough for us. And all the Canaanites that dwell in the land, the valley, have chariots of iron, both they of who of was Beth Sheen, and her towns, and they who are of the valley of Jezreel. You see it saying there? And it just talks about right here, but the mountain shall, it talks about giving them things, these shall be yours, even to Ephraim, Manasseh, and whatnot. It says, Joshua spoke to the house of Joseph, even to Ephraim, Manasseh, saying, you are a great people, because they did become great. Actually, Ephraim was greater than Judah at that time. Ephraim, because remember, Joseph was blessed. He was the one that was blessed over all his brethren. Because remember, everyone wanted to sell Joseph. But Joseph was blessed, and Ephraim was blessed carrying on that blessing. And he was the greater one. And that's why he said, you are great people. He says, you are a great people and have great power. You shall not have one lot only, because they was going to have a double portion. They was going to give them more. So you don't have one place only, but the mountain shall be yours, for it is a wood, and you shall cut it down. Because he's going to go up to the mountain where the woods are and cut it down, make it a plain, make it flat, and have some inhabitants there. In fact, that's going to allow them to build a lot of houses, because it was woods. So they can go in the woods, cut down the trees, and settle houses. It says, you shall cut it down, that outgoing of it shall be yours. It says, for you shall, and then he said, then, because you're going to do it. He says, for you shall drive out the Canaanites, though they have iron chariots, right? Though they be strong. You see what it's saying there? Though the Canaanites be strong and have iron chariots, that's unheard of in that time. They have iron chariots. Anyone who will fight against them, they're not getting past them, right? Because the Philistines brought forth that iron, and is known. That's why they call it later on an Iron Age, when they start having iron weapons. But now, earlier, they call it the Bronze Age. Bronze Age because they had bronze weapons. And they was basically crafting bronze from tin and whatnot and all that. I'm not going to talk about the craft, how they craft bronze and whatnot. But that's what happened in that time. So just take note that in that time, the weapons, the detail of the time, the information. See, we go deep into the information. We go into the history, the genetics. We go into all those things. So you're getting a deep understanding of the Bible here. You're not just getting a simple little. I just started to read the Bible. I just read it once, but we actually do this. We do this all the time. So you can see the Canaanites had strong weapons. They had strong weapons. And that's why, and that's why God wanted to bring them there, because He's going to destroy them. God is stronger than any type of weapon that they can make. So let's go over here. Did you know that's also a prophecy for the future? The Lord knows that people have super strong weapons today, and He said those aren't going to do nothing to the people. He's actually going to do a thing just like the ancient days. He's going to do the thing like the days of old and have His people go and come back to the land. But He's going to have the people come like a flame. I talked about that yesterday. And He says, remember that saying where He says, there's a saying where He says, there's a famous saying I think everyone quotes. A lot of people quote. In fact, let's go to that saying before we continue on. As always, we know holy conversation for the sake of understanding. I'm going to show you that saying that said, let me show you it right here. Oh, wait, not that. Let's think about how it is. Is it made? I made the smith. I think. Let me see. Lavish, behold, right here. See what it says? I created. It says, behold, I have created the smith that blows the coal on the fire and that have brings forth the instruments for his work, and have created the waster to destroy. He's basically saying all the weapons in the world I made, right? He says, no weapon. This is a common quote. Not a lot of people don't know how deep this actually goes. This is actually talking about that the Lord is going to get the people to fight against the people in the land and deliver the land back to the people like the days of old. That's what he's going to do. He's going to take the people in the land now and take them out. That's actually what the Lord plans on doing, because they say that they're Jew. They don't believe in Christ. Understand? No one's a Jew unless they believe in Christ. No one's a real Jew. No, because remember, you can't be in Judah. You can't live in the land if you're not accepted with the Lord. Obviously, there's some that's the bloodline, but they're not gonna be in the land unless they're with the Lord. That's important to understand. But this is actually what he's talking about here. That's actually what he's talking about, a battle. A lot of people don't think of it like that. They just think of it like the Lord not going to hurt. They think of it like a spiritual matter. But it's actually connecting with Ezekiel 39. This is actually connecting with Ezekiel 39, where he's going to cause them to be like a spirit and no one's going to be able to stop them. Because what are you going to do fighting against guns? You see how war is. War is horrible. World War I, World War II. You think he's going to give you a gun and say, go fight? He's going to give you the spirit and you're going to be indestructible. So you see where it says, no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that shall raise against you in judgment, you shall condemn. Remember that sword, the two-edged sword in the mouth? It says, this is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me. Remember what it says in the New Testament? We become his righteousness. His righteousness is of me. One more precept. Let's connect this with a precept so that we know that it's actually saying here. Look what David actually prophesies about that two-edged sword, right? Because Revelation constantly talks about that two-edged sword that's in his mouth, right? Watch what David says here. He says this, let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing out loud in their beds. Amen. Oh, amen. Let's see what goes on the next thing. Let the high praise of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance on the heathen and punishment on the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron. They ain't gonna break loose. To execute on them the judgment written. This is the honor. This honor have all his saints. What did he just say there? This honor have all his saints. Praise you, the Lord, for the sake of understanding. That's what he says is going to happen. But understand, these are levels. These are levels that some people, they're not ready for the sake of understanding. They think everything's symbolic, but the Lord is going to work. When he works, he's going to work, and it's going to happen, and it's going to manifest. The Lord is not just a spirit as in he doesn't do anything, but he's a spirit who's waiting. He's waiting for that time. Remember what he says? He's waiting because he doesn't want anyone to perish. Another precept, another scripture. But let's get back into this. So that's why we stay on prophecy. Prophecy is so deep. It's crazy to avoid it. It's wrong to avoid it. But we do it with a holy conversation for the sake of understanding. I hope you like that. Now, let's look at this. So Israel is going to make their way into the land, right? Moab's here in this area. Now Israel's up here, right? Remember, these are now some people say Ruth is what? Ruth is a Moabite, they say. We did a video and we did if Ruth was a Moabite or was she actually an Israelite? Most likely she was an Israelite because you can break it down on the maps. The maps actually, there's a land called the Plains of Moab, which is actually a place where Israel was. And it says that she came from the Plains of Moab, which was a place that was belonged to Israel. Moab wasn't in that plain of Moab. But let's just go with that. Let's just say that she was a Moabite. Let's just say that she was a Moabite because it doesn't really matter from the female for the sake of understanding. You can Israel can get with Ham, Shem, or Japheth. It wouldn't change them. It wouldn't change their Y chromosome for the sake of understanding. So obviously he can have an Ammonite, a Moabite, Edomite, what have you, for the sake of understanding. But let's understand what's actually going on here, right? If they came, and remember, that's in the time of Judges. Now they're going to try to go through, and they actually go through Moab, right? And then you see in the plains of Moab, they have the things that go on and mingle. Everyone does the thing. But what does the Lord say about Moab and Ammon? This is how we also know that most likely she was not Moabite, but she could have been. It's possible for the sake of understanding. I'll leave that open for the sake of understanding. But the Lord said that don't seek after now remember, the Lord at first was well to Moab, but then they got evil. They started doing evil to them. Because remember, the Lord's not going to just cut off Israel and not cut off other people. He cuts off the wicked because of their wickedness, right? So he said not to seek their well-being at all. So they were cut off from being Israel. At first they were going to be part of the land, but then what happened later on? Now let's get to the time of Joshua. You see how we're going about this very slowly, like piece by piece, taking our time to show you that everything's accurate. Does anyone disagree with anything so far? Does anyone disagree with anything so far? If anyone disagree with something, we'll touch on it for the sake of understanding. I want to make sure everyone's with me for the sake of understanding when we do these things, when we go over these things for the sake of understanding. So to make sure if anyone disagree, he the nation do not know war like they think they do. Yep, that's right. Okay, so that's right. For the sake of understanding, the Lord is the one that's going to make battle. He's the one that brings strength, right? So now let's look at Israel. So now what is Israel going to do? Let me see, where is my 12 here? Because I can't even grab it. I can't grab my 12. Let's see. What the right there. All right. Now they're going to cross over. Now who's in these lands that got to be destroyed? The Canaanites and the Philistines. Now the Canaanites and the Philistines are in the land. Now this is important. This is important. The Lord actually never really commanded them to destroy the Philistines. Now, where are the Philistines now at this point? Now, the Philistines, when they came in this area, they was fighting with the Canaanites, right? Canaanites were actually pushed up here by Egypt. Canaanites were up here, and the Philistines were down here in the land which you know as Ashkelon and stuff like that, Ashdod, Ekron, stuff like that. You see those classic names and stuff. Let's look at that on a map, which we have right here, right? And remember, we all began as Ham, Shem, and Japheth, right? We all began we all began and from Noah, right? You know, there's one that has a promise, yeah. But we got to understand that the Lord works with all people in however they are in their ways. Because remember, when David went into this area, David lived in this area for a little bit. He was destroying a couple of different ones and different peoples and stuff. But he was in his area, and some of them actually joined with David, and they became legendary. They became extremely legendary. A lot of the Philistines end up joining with David. Remember, they're different than the Canaanites. The Canaanites, they're also in this area, but the Philistines only had this area. This is the Philistine area, and all the rest of the area is the Canaanite area. But the Philistines had a small portion, a little portion right here, for the sake of understanding. This map isn't that big. I don't know why I closed that other map. Actually, would have been good to keep right here. Let's open up this map. I actually have a let me see. So you can see those names. Bashan. That's actually a little bit of Edom. Right here you can see this one. Because remember who went to go destroy Bashan? Moses. Remember they had to go all the way and go around and everything, and they settled in the mountains, right? Ephraim, Manasseh. At least I believe they have that on the map up there somewhere around here. Ephraim, Manasseh, somewhere on this thing should be a little hard to see right here. Manasseh. And I'm sure Ephraim somewhere on there. Different names. That's Manasseh right there. But let's go down. There's Ammon, right? That's why we got on here Ammon, Moabite, and Edom, right? Let's just show you that. Ammon, and then you got the Moabites, and you got the Edomites. This is the map that I was looking for. I don't know why I didn't see it. This is the one that my wife found. That's really great. You got even the Peliset there, the Philistines, which are the sea peoples, and they got that. See that their little area, the short little area. But what did Israel get? The land of Canaan, right? That was promised to them. And then you see Amalek down there. Amalek. These was down here. Remember, that's why I said it was war and stuff. They actually covered these areas. That's why they couldn't go in these areas, because there was war going on in those areas. They was fighting against each other in the open field. So you can see Israel in these areas, they took the land of Canaan because that's what the promise was given to them, all the lands of Canaan, areas of Canaan. Not really the Philistines. The Philistines really, they didn't really have a problem, but the Philistines, what happened? They were going at it because they were just the Philistines. They just, if you follow the history, they thought they were the best. They thought they had the best gear, the best weapons. Look at Goliath, right? Goliath was a Philistine. He was a Philistine, right? Not a Canaanite. He was a Philistine. He was a very tall, big, strong Philistine. And think of it like a one of those Santa Claus type people or something like that, a buff Santa Claus or something, one of those people type things. That's how you would kind of relate. How you say? Because understand when it said, what's his name? Goliath. I don't know how I almost forgot that. Goliath, he himself was not a super giant. He was like 10 feet tall, like 10, 9 feet tall. He was just extra tall. He was like extra tall, big, tough person wearing bronze and a lot of different weapons. And he had bronze on because he thought that he was superior. He could have had iron. He could have easily had iron, but he thought he was such a superior warrior. He just wore bronze. All his gears was bronze. He had lances of bronze and stuff of bronze, but they had iron weapons there. He was just showing that he can take on an iron weapon with a bronze staff, and that's for them, that's scary. That's horrendous. That means he knows how to fight. That's why Saul said he's a warrior from his youth. That means if you fought with him, you're not just fighting with his gear, you're fighting with his ability. And that was extremely fearful for Israel when they seen that. They seen what he looked like, and they must have knew him as well. Obviously, someone like that, his name must have got around. They obviously would have knew who he was, because when they seen him, obviously it wasn't just his size. It would have been something about him, because Saul knew who he was. He said he's a warrior from his youth. For the sake of understanding, how you know he's a warrior from his youth. So you can see the Philistines would be in this area, but they were going at it, right? They were coming out mocking Israel and doing all types of stuff like that, and that's why they were having problems. So you can see they settled in their land, but they stayed there. These ones stayed there for a long time, even to the time of the kings. You can look at the maps of the kings. Let's go to let's go to. Should we go to the time of Hezekiah? I'll just put kings. Map of the kings of Israel. Right. So it's like a little history lesson in a way. I'm gonna go to. I want to make sure it has like the time of which king, a later king. Maybe I'll go to Hezekiah's time. Just looking to see if there's with just a straight. Because remember, you see the split, and that's gonna give you a little understanding on the time frame of it. Because remember, when did they split? After Solomon. After Solomon is when they split, and that's how late that is when you start seeing maps with the split. I'll just go to one with the split. We'll just look at that. Kingdom of David, Ishmael. That might be all right. You'll just go look at this one. We're not gonna look too long because we're not working on the maps. Otherwise, I'll get you a better map. This one, you see this? This is who I said. Remember the Phoenicians? That's the Phoenicians. Those are the people that they were getting the purple and whatnot. And then you got the Philistines, right? The Philistines over here. These all had their little area, and Israel had their area right there, right in this little area. But the Philistines were here for a long time, but they were going at it. Look at those arrows. They were going at them because they wanted this land. They wanted more land. That's what they wanted. They wanted even more land. So that's why they were kind of going at it, and then that's why they were fighting at it. But remember, Israel kept sinning, so that's why they never ever got rid of the Philistines. They were always a thorn in the side, literally a thorn in the side of Judah, literally, like actually a real thorn in the side of Judah. That's what they've always been, a thorn in the side. Now, obviously, if they just left them alone, they would have been. It's like they would have just been fine. They just been fine. Like, it's okay. You can be here. You came off the boat too. You survived. Obviously, there's a reason why Japheth lived. Obviously, the Lord had mercy on Ham, Shem, and Japheth for the sake of understanding. But because they kept on persecuting them to the end, that's the problem. Even to the end, they're not stopping. They got to stop themselves from persecuting them and show love, but they couldn't. They kept on persecuting them. So what's going to happen now? Before we even get to this map, we know that Israel crossed over and settled in this area. Now, remember, they almost merged together, but they hate each other. There was a difference. Obviously, if you understand the color barrier, there was a color barrier. They look different. And if they mixed, you'll know when they mixed. There was a time when they was going to start mixing. Remember, in the time of Judges, you had the strong man, right? Samson the strong, right? And then he actually was with a Philistine woman. He got with a Philistine woman, but he never had kids or anything like that. He ended up going through some things because as a strong man, think he's better. He had his head too strong. He was too strong and got too comfortable, especially with that woman that did what she did with her. So he got too comfortable in that time, but almost got some a little try to mix and whatnot. But they kind of kept their own going on. They kind of had their own thing, especially Judah. Judah was more very zealous. Judah was like, for example, when we look in the book of where David is going on, David's like, he goes to Judah because he's trying to get Israel to go with him, but then they go through the divides and stuff. But then he finally gets Benjamin and everything, and then he's like, Judah, he's like, are you with me? He's like, yeah, of course we're with you. We're your blood. We're your blood. We're with you. Let's go. And they're like, okay, let's go. And they follow David because they're like, we are. It's like we are your people. Let's go. So they come together. So it's they're kind of always like leaning together in a time, and then these ones become their own groups, but kind of like cut off. They're kind of like they can't be part of Israel no more. Now they're their own sets, and they're kind of separated from each other. Though it's possible that they were mingling a little bit, but they were mostly separated from each other. That's why you see these as different groups in the story, different things going on in the story. All right, let me get back to that screen share. I'm just gonna turn that thing right back. Okay. All right. So very deep story today, huh? So let's understand this. So Israel will then be in the land of Philistines. Now, what they're in between? Who are they in between? The Canaanites, who are A and B. Remember, they're gonna annihilate all the Canaanites, right? You're not gonna find them. They're gonna annihilate them. Now you're gonna see that if you know the story of Carthage, right? Carthage later in the time of Rome, Carthage that's in these areas. In fact, let me see if I got a map. Carthage is the Canaanites. That's the Canaanites. When you think of Carthage and all that, not the Philistines, but the Canaanites. They're the actual Canaanites. That's what Carthage was. The darker skinned people, the Canaanites. They probably was a little light too because they were obviously mixing for the sake of understanding. So we won't say dark skin. We'll just say they're Canaanites for the sake of understanding. It could have been darker. It could have been lighter. I seen depictions of them with different shades. I wish this thing open. Unfortunately, your computer does not support. Cannot be loaded. What? I don't know what that means because that thing was opening before. Just click something here. Maybe it just had me just do a thing. How do I turn it on and make it stay on? I'm trying to play a game, Facebook, whatnot. Does anyone give an answer? One answer recommended. Many thanks, Messenger. Upgrade your graphics card if possible. Enter into the address bar. GPU. Enable overdrive. Okay. Well, it's probably just doing that because I'm using multiple things. So I'll just let that be because I can actually use the maps on this. Let's just use the maps on here. There we go. Well, see how easy that was? I don't know what it was talking about there, but that's what we're gonna do. Um, let me get this out of I think it's a 3D mode. Okay. So the Philistines end up taking over these areas. Like if you look up Carthage and all that stuff, you'll find out that they owned a lot of these. They end up the Philistines during the time. You should look it up. The history behind them, the Carthage, and how the Canaanites, not the Philistines, the Canaanites, how the Canaanites end up moving down here and reigning in these areas of Africa. How they reign in these areas of Africa. The Canaanites, all these areas, all of them, they reigned in these areas, but they were destroyed. They were completely destroyed by the Romans, and they were destroyed by the Ishmaelites as well. They were destroyed by the Ishmaelites. They were pushed down all the way down to the bottom of Africa, to the very lowest part of Africa, A and B, and you can find it today. In fact, I'll read you. I'll read it tomorrow. Y'all willing? If you want to see 3 p.m. Central Time tomorrow, I'll show you what it says about the real A and B lines, and it'll tell you that's real historical information that tells you that they were pushed down. The original inhabitants of Africa was pushed down in Africa, and the Shemites start moving downward in Africa. Very important to know that a little history on that. But that's what they were, the Carthage. Later on, they are seen because remember Israel never completely finished their tasks. Remember that's not finished yet. They're still supposed to be in the land. Few people understand that story is not over yet. The story is not done. We're in the midst. Can you believe that we're in the midst of the Bible? We are living in the Bible, family. That's where we are. We're living in it in the midst of the Bible. So you're seeing the story here. So Israel is now here in the midst between the Canaanites, A and B, and R is down there. And then what happens? What's gonna happen as these things move through, right? Because remember how we seen right here, you got their Phoenicians, right? Tyre and Zidon, right? All those things and whatnot. And then you got the Philistines, right? Ashkelon, Ashdod, things like that. You're gonna have a separation of these different groups, because Israel is gonna cover a little. Sometimes they get a little of these areas, whatnot. But what happens? What then happens? Right here is actually this looks like the time of David, because Benjamin at one time was with Israel, with Ephraim and all them. But then David got Benjamin back. He got Benjamin back. It's actually prophetic because it happens in the New Testament too. Remember, Benjamin's persecuting Judah, right? He's persecuting Judah. He's over there persecuting the people that Messiah made his own, right? And then Messiah comes up like, "Why are you persecuting me?" Like what happened with Saul of old. But then he takes Benjamin and says, "You're mine now." It's so deep. Like if you really think about it, like it's so deep. The Bible's so deep. It's just so deep. It's a deep story. But getting back into it, you can see right here, for the sake of understanding, this is where Israel's going to be. Now we're going to start getting closer to the exile. Now you see how we're kind of building our way up there. Now we're going to now before we get to the exile, there's a people that comes. Now who is that people? The Assyrians. The Assyrians. Now we got to look at something. Um. Oh wait, I know something. That's better. All right, let's look at that. Let's look at the Ham, Shem, and David family tree, because that's a great illustration on one of these right here. We just need this because this is going to give us, because I want you to see that a lot of these things are known, and most of these things are fairly right for the sake of understand. This one's kind of blurry. I think I have one that's not that blurry, but this little thing, if I can, let's see if I can search the web for the image. If I can find this thing, it's a decent. This one's a little higher quality. let's try this one. It's reference denied. All right. Well, it's just like they got a higher quality over there. Let's see. Well, we'll just work. We'll just. It may be kind of hard to see, but this little thing is this touches everything. This touches on all of them, and I think let me just see if there's any other one because it's nice because I want you to see that who everyone is and where they link to. I just want you to see that so that we can go over that thing because it is it's fairly clear when we see it with the names. I'm just gonna click it. I'm just gonna click it because I want you to see this. Okay. Just looking over here on the side to see if there's a better one. I believe I have a better one on the phone. Let me just look. Let me actually see if I have a better one, which I'm sure I do. I should make a note with just valuable pictures. Let's see. Let's see. See, we do a lot of digging, grabbing a lot of information on stuff. Let me see. And if you ever see anything from me that you want, let me know and I'll give it to you. Whatever you want, for the sake of understanding. I don't believe in selling truth, as I think that that is an abomination. For the sake of understanding, sell the truth, buy it not. Let's see. Um, let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Because I want you to see this one. And I believe I thought I found a higher quality one, but I guess I didn't. Thought I did. I actually thought I had downloaded more stuff than this, to be honest with you. But maybe I just didn't download that one, which is all right. That's all right. That's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. All right. Let me just type one more thing to see if I can refine it by doing this. Or let's go to Google. The reason why I want to show you this is because this one that I've seen is accurate. It's very accurate and it's very detailed, very accurate one. But I don't know where it is, to be honest with you. Um, let's let's go up. Let me try family tree. Let's try it again. All right. This is it, but it's so blurry. And why is it just on Pinterest? Let's just go to Pinterest and see if they got a fine quality one. Should be decent, I think, because this was really nice. This was really nice if you get it in a decent quality. If you ever find this one, I'm just gonna see if I can find it on like the a real site. Okay, that one's fine. Let me just open it on a different tab. Okay. All right, that's good. Let's close that. These. Okay, so you see what you're seeing here. So we're doing Abraham's line all the way to Messiah, right? And we got Ham. Now we're gonna look at Ham. That's the Japheth over here. Got your different lines over here, all that whatnot. Let's look at Ham. So Ham brings forth. We got different lines and all these different things and all that whatnot, and it's really interesting, right? Let me just see here because I want you to see the where it says Assyrian. At least I thought that was on here. I thought it was, but looks like it's not. Well, I guess I'll just say, yeah, there it is, right there, Assyria. Okay, so who is Assyria? Who actually is Assyria? Right? Ashura. So when we look at the family tree, right? We gotta look at the family tree now. One more time. Take a look. Let's go back here. I don't know why I didn't grab a better family tree. Actually, had a decent one. Let's go. Well, you don't need to see that. Just know that this is from Shem, right? They have their own branches. That's Shemites, different Shemites, right? Now these are going to be the real Assyrians, right? They're going to be in these areas. Now let's actually put this here. Now, the Assyrians later on got extremely mixed. Now, if you follow the history of Assyria, it's super complex. I mean, extremely complex, but you can understand it. It's not that hard. But remember, they got attacked, right? They were destroyed. And then after their destruction, weren't a kingdom. When you're not a kingdom, you know what you do? You end up going into a kingdom. And then as you go into a kingdom, right? The kingdoms came, Babylon came, those are going to be Hamites. Remember the Syrians, they're going to be Shemites. And then as we keep going, we're going to get more Japhanites. So we're going to see all that. So let's actually put for Shem, let's just put like this. E slash let's just put E. Let's just put E for sake of understanding for Assyria. We're just going to put that up there right here. They're not going to stay like this. The Assyrians change. They're going to completely change what they are for the sake of understanding, because the mixing, there's going to be a lot of mixing that they do. So the Assyrians are up there. But for the sake of understanding, um, I want to put E, but I'll put something else. I'll put something else just for clarification. I'll just put, I'll put ASY. So there's gonna be Assyria. I'll just put that like that because we're not gonna interact with them right now. We're not gonna interact with them right now for the sake of understanding. Now Assyria is gonna come into the picture. Where are we now? This is the time of the kings, right? This is gonna be where we're gonna actually Canaan. They're gonna be very small. Canaan's gonna be very small. Not completely gone yet, but they're very small. And then what we're gonna do? We're gonna see Assyria is going to be used to destroy the top 10 tribes. Now, what's going to happen here? We got to do this because during this time, we actually got a split. How does that split occur? Let's do the split. Now we're going to get a split. Let's do it. So I'm going to leave this here. You know what I should have did? I should have kept moving it over and over and over and over while doing it, but I'm going to have to, take care of that when we get there. But we'll just do it like this because it's nothing to do that. Let's do a split here. In fact, for the sake of understanding, I'm going to talk a little bit while I move some stuff out for the sake of understanding. Israel goes through a time of, I don't know how to call it, like a civil distress, I guess, where they're basically the tribes split. Uh, you'll have basically what they call the northern tribes, because most of the tribes that split are going to be in the north. And then you're going to have the southern tribe, which is going to be Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. And they're going to be in the lower south. They're going to basically be against each other for a long time. Now the upper Israel, every single king does evil. Every single one. Every single king does evil. Not one does good. Not one of them. Every single one does evil. Every single one. It's horrible. It's completely horrible. But every single one, some of them do good in the beginning, but they end evil. They always end evil. They always end evil for some reason. It's very sad. Okay, so now we're gonna have a split here. Let's do it. Let's do that split. I'm just gonna cut this, and then let's duplicate this. And now this actually is not going to be 12. We're going to have 3 here. And this 3 is going to be in a lower area. Right? They're going to be in a lower area. I'm going to obviously the Canaanite the Philistines stay in the area, but for the sake of room, I'm going to move the Amalekites. Now, if you don't know, the Amalekites, they were destroyed. They were completely destroyed during the time when Simon and his sons came there and destroyed them. Right? I'll just show you that real fast because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the Amalekites. I'm gonna cut them off. All right. So right here, you can see, and they smote the right here. You see what it's saying here? Right here, during the time of Hezekiah, it says, and these written by name, just talk about the sons of Simon. I'm not Simon, for the sake of understanding. Simon, where is it? Right here. The sons of Simon, and it just talks about their names. I'm gonna just skip right down. Just go over their names. It says these were written by name during the days of Hezekiah. I'm gonna skip down a little bit, and it just talks about that they went up. Right, they went to Mount Seir, and it says right here, and they smote the rest of the Amalekites that were escaped. Now, why does he say that were escaped? Because during the time of Saul, God he remembered what the Amalekites did when they basically didn't help Israel. He remembered what they did, and he said, I remember what they did. And he told Saul to go destroy them. And that's when Saul fell off because Saul didn't destroy them. Oh, let me click this so you can see this. My bad. So you can actually see what's on there. So Saul didn't do that. Saul actually spared the king, right? And then Samuel had to kill that king, right? He had to kill him. He had to take that king's life itself because remember, he knew what he did, that king did. He says, as you has caused many of Israel to become fatherless, so shall your mother become basically a widow, for the sake of understanding, fatherless, or your children become fatherless, in that sense, for the sake of understanding. Basically saying he was going to die, for the sake of, I guess, just to summarize it. The king of Amalek was going to die by the hands of the name of God, because that's what Samuel means, the name of God, for the sake of understanding. So he was going to die by the name of God, and therefore he did die, the king of Amalek. Some of them escaped and dwelled in the land of Seir, which was Edom, which is who they are. But then we seen Simon come down there, and he completely, as you see right there, they smote the rest of the Amalekites that were escaped and dwelt there to this day. So you see that? So, and that's why if you look on a map, if you look on one of these maps, what you see is this one's okay. This one's okay. Right here, you'll constantly see Simon in this area. You see what's going on there? You see him kind of like lower in these things like that because the Amalekites, right? The Amalekites, they were actually over here. That's why they were fighting. So they were fighting with each other. The Amorites, the Jebusites, all those things, all those ites were going at it. And those Amalekites, but the Amalekites, they end up Saul came down when Adam with him when added with him, spared the king, probably obviously allowed many to escape because he spared the king. And then therefore right here they end up settling these different areas, actually around these areas, and then they end up taking different things. But let's go back here. Let's go back here. Let's go down to here. So I'm going to actually put a cut here like that, right? So now they're not there, but we need Edom. Now where's Edom? Where's Edom? Where did Edom go? Let's see, let's see, let's see, let's see. Actually, I think I just called them Edom, which it looks like they disappeared. Let's put them back there. Let's put Edom back there. I probably accidentally clicked disappear or something. Put Edom right back there. All right. So just because R1A we know is European, let's just make it white, just for the sake of understanding. Let's just make it white, and let's make these ones black. All right, that's where you get your Ethiopians and stuff like that and whatnot. And I'll just leave E1, B1B like that. We just leave it for the sake of understanding. Well, actually, no. I'll make it what I made it on a lot of the animations out there. I'll make it blue. Make it a clear blue or something that's easy to tell for the sake of understanding. That's not really decent blue. There we go. Let's go to a more blue. Oops. Okay. And then I got to change this one. I'll just make this one pink. We'll just make the ammonites pink or purple. There we go. And then I'll change these ones because then that's purple. Then I'll make these ones pink, I guess. Even though it doesn't matter. That's good. I just make their outline black. Like that. Make this one black too. So it doesn't so it's easier to see. And I'll make that E1B. I'll make this one blue. All right. Right there. Just color coordinate and I'll make the outline white. It looks kind of weird. I'll just make it black. That is okay. We'll just make it black like that. There we go. Because remember, they mix with they end up mixing with the Hamites, right? So E1B got the that's why if you look at their female line, that all of them, the female lines of the Hamites are mixed with Shem. You'll see a lot of the female lines mixed together. All of their female lines will all be constantly mixed, right? Edom and mixed, Esau mixed, they're all mixed. So you should see an L in all of them. You should see, if you look, you should see an L in every single one of them. You should see an L in the mtDNA. If you look in their mtDNA, you should see an L in every single one of them. You should, for the sake of understanding. Now, for the sake of understanding, I'm gonna click this one. I almost missed this one hiding up there. All right. So let's put that split there, the change here. So we got 3, right? And then we have the 10. Now remember, for the sake of understanding, Edom, what I say? Uh, Manasseh and Ephraim, they count as one. They count as one, right? That's why you'll see they'll say the 10 tribes. Though it's a little, a little more for the sake of understanding. But let's put that. Let's put 10 tribes right here, right there. Because it's actually 10 of them for the sake of understanding, right? Because now you got Ephraim, Manasseh, and you got all the tribes there. That's why I call them the 10 tribes. And then you got Levi over here. Remember, Levi left with Judah because Levi was always at the tabernacle. And the tabernacle at that time, well, now is at the temple. Now the temple is there. The temple at that time was always in that area, was always in that land. We'll actually make Israel green. Let's just make Israel green. So it's a little more uh, clear, right? And I'll put the little, once I do like a color coordination thing, we'll do like a color coordination thing and whatnot, like a color key. Once we do the whole little animation on it, which is it's gonna be super easy. It's gonna be super easy to do it. But this is great for showing. This is great for showing and telling of these things, right? Because the reason why I want to do it like this, because I don't want to just jump. I can just show you and just do it, but I don't want to jump too fast. I want you, for the sake of understanding, for anyone who wants to see, I want them to like be able to take it in the truth of the matter, for the sake of understanding. So I hope that you agree with what's going on here. Where's my Edom? Where does Edom keep going? Oh, it's over here. How did? Let's put this over here. All right. I don't know why that 12 is all the way over there. Let's bring that back some. In fact, it doesn't matter because I'll work on that later. We'll just keep going. So let's look at this. Now we got the split. So you see the split of the tribes. You see what's going on there. Let's let's actually understand this in the sense of what's going on, right? I'm gonna make these ones with a little different. I'll just make it. Maybe we'll make it white. Looks off. Let's see. Maybe gray. Oh, that looks off. What color? Good. What was a good color with this? I don't know. Let's just go. Let's just leave it. Let's just make them the same. We'll just leave it like that. They're the same anyways. Though against each other. Though they're against each other. So Israel being the 10 tribes, and then you got obviously for the sake of, and remember, we're just leaving it as blank. We don't know. We're gonna say we don't know what they are, right? We're just saying we don't know what X and Y are and whatnot. But we're seeing these different chromosomes in these different areas around these areas. Let's see how everyone's doing. See if I miss anything. Amen, family. Amen, amen. That's right. That's right. Seeing how everyone's doing. Watching those comments. All right. Let's put these. Where does R come from? I'll put his R up here because I think he was up here. I just put it like in the middle of Cyprus and that. Okay. So now let's think about this for the sake of understanding. What's now about to happen now that Assyria is here? The 10 tribes are about to go into captivity. Let's move it a little up. And now let's actually put a split here because the 10 tribes are about to be cut off and they're not going to play a major part in the Bible again until like later on we see some Sumerian small pieces later on, very small pieces for the sake of understanding, very small. I'm going to put this, I'm going to split this, and because we don't really know when it comes to these lines, this line continues on, right? The A, B, and the E down there. I'm going to split this, and I'm going to put this down here, right? So now these are going to be in this area, and let's move A2 down there because obviously I should have split that earlier, but that's all right. We'll work with what we got, and I'll put this over here just to say, because they actually end up going really deep into Africa. These ones go really deep into Africa at some point. Those are going to be later on. A lot of those E line, you see that E on there? A lot of those E's are going to become your Africans. Remember how I showed you that when we did the Ishmael study, how they named Africa, Africa, right? That's actually where the word Africa come from the Ishmaelites. That's important to note. Take note. Very important. Very, very important. Okay. So let's begin right here. Let me make sure nothing disappears because some things aren't pulled out all the way, as you can see. Let's pull out some things all the way. All right. I'm just going to pull this out while we talk. So, what happened with Assyria? Why did the 10 tribes get cut off? What was the reason? Why didn't the Lord, just work with them and everything? Because the 10 tribes started to take Dan and make them their priests. They started to make their own priests, and they started to confuse many matters. They started to confuse many things, and they started to become one with the nations and start taking in their ways and stuff. They started taking a lot of wicked ways, and Israel started to do that too, like Solomon. Oh God, man, I don't even know how to process what Solomon did. He did so well. At first he was doing so good, but then he ended up just turning to idols because he loved the women, and he had all types of women. Oh, my phone! You see that? There it go, family. There it go, man. That's all right. That's all right. I'm gonna switch it to a different charger because I had it charged on the phone on the computer, but I didn't even notice it was dying. To be honest with you, but I guess it was dying. The computer must not put out a deep charge. But I have a better charger that hooks into the wall. That I'll just let it charge a little bit, and we'll talk about some things. And I guess for the sake of understanding. I hope that was good for you for the sake of understanding. In fact, we'll do this in parts. I guess we'll do this in parts, and we'll get now to what's going to happen with Assyria. We'll talk about what's going to happen in Syria. But I got time today. If you got time today, I got time today, and I'm planning on doing a live later tonight. As I'm surprised my son didn't wake up because he usually wakes up about this time, but maybe he's up. I don't know. Maybe my wife's distracting him, which is usually she's gonna do something like that. But let's see how everyone's doing. But family, what did you think about that? What's your idea of what I just did? The illustration of these genetics. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree? What is your feelings about these things? Because I want you to understand that this is actually biblical. All these things that I'm showing you are biblical, and they're deep. They're very deep, and they actually bring the story to life. They bring the story to life. And when this is all said and done, you're gonna see a video of everything that we're doing here and see the whole picture of it all. And this is gonna single hand. And my hope is that the truth manifests. That's it. I'm not trying to boast on the flesh, but I just want the truth to manifest so that salvation can come to the world. That's really what I want. I want truth to manifest so that everyone can see the truth no matter what. I'm not part of a camp. I'm not part of an organization. I'm not pushing any narrative. All I want to do is have the truth manifest. That's it. And it's not so bad to push truth. That's all I want to do. Not I don't want no money. I don't want a gift. I don't want no praises. I don't put my face out there. I don't want to put my name out there for the sake of understanding. All I want is for everyone to agree to the truth. That's it. I want everyone to agree to the truth and come to truth so that we all come to truth in harmony so that the world can just at least have the truth, for the sake of understanding. Because it's like the world's just everyone's here or there or this thing or that. So that's why I wanted to show you this, as I believe it's important. And once this thing charges, uh, we'll turn it back on for the sake of understanding. But let me this is a deep note. I'm not gonna go over it now, but for the sake of understanding, let's talk again about Noah real fast and this thing. Who here believes in millions and millions of years? Does anyone here believe in millions and billions of years? If you do, just put one or something. I don't know. If you believe in millions and billions of years, for the sake of understanding, I just want you to know that that narrative is from the heathens. The reason why they want you to believe millions and billions of years, because they don't want the Bible to be real. This is as of February 2021. This is a classic. This is every single Y haplocode group that's out today. Every single one, all listed. What they want you to do, what I'm gonna do is first show you what it looks like from their perspective. I'm gonna leave these here just in case, but let me show you something because I know I got the source to this at least right here. Let me show you this. Let me show you this tree. I'm gonna not this one. Go down a little bit. I think it's a wiki site. I don't know why that one went like that. But let me show you something. Just to give you that strength that millions and billions of years, one is impossible. It's impossible with the understanding of what the Bible is saying. And it doesn't make any sense genetically. It doesn't make any sense genetically in any sense. So I'm gonna show you. Let's say I'm a scientist. Let's say I'm a scientist, whatever. So we all began at Y chromosome Adam, right? And as millions and billions of years had happened, and slight genetic changes after we had changed from monkeys, remember we was in a bowl of soup, and it all began from a big bang, and from that big bang, somehow we got a ordered system where it was calm, and somehow after everything was super hot, because remember, the big bang, everything was extremely hot, hotter than the sun. The whole universe was hotter than the sun. And after it finally cooled down, what was the process of cooling down? What was even the method of it cooling down? But why am I contradicting with myself? For the sake of understanding. So it was extremely hot, right? And somehow, some way, it cooled down, right? What was the process of cold air to hot air? But yeah, it cooled down. And upon it cooling down, as you put a rock and boil it in your oven and take it out, then little spacemen start growing on it. They just start moving around in water. Where did water come from with all that heat? Well, somehow, some way, that water, even though it's super hot, extreme. Look it up. Look up how hot it was during the Big Bang. Look at how hot it was, and you'll see. I'll just show you for the sake of understanding. Let's see. I want to get a direct. Sometimes I don't give you a direct answer. Give me a direct answer. Bing. Let's go to Google. I really like Bing. Yeah. No, I want you to see how hot it is. They say extremely hot and dense, but I want you to see the percentage. I want you to even process what they say how hot it is. I want you to see that. I really want you to see that. Where is it? You can see. They said the whole universe was hot. How you going? They're not gonna just give me a straight answer. If someone is better at just grabbing that answer or knows that answer, how hot it was during the universe, I'm just gonna until I know the exact percentage. I'm just gonna tell you it was extremely hot. Right? It was extremely hot. From nothing came an extremely hot explosion that filled the whole universe. That it was so hot. It was so hot that it was just like it was the whole universe. I can't even process the thought of that for the sake of understanding. Everything was hot, and then somehow, some way, it cooled down. Right? It says as the universe continued to expand and cool. How did it cool? Things began to happen more slowly. So at some point, DNA started as now understand everything, almost every living thing. Actually, every living thing has DNA. Every living thing has a complex form in it. In fact, I want to show you something. Have you ever seen a leaf? You ever seen a zoom in on a leaf? I want to show you something. I just want to show you a zoom on a leaf. This is allowed to show. It's a leaf. Come on. Just skip ahead. Actually, no. We got to see the zoom in on it. This is how complex a leaf is. This is a leaf. You see this? It looks like it's so easy. It's just a thing that popped up randomly, and you see it all the time. It's not no big deal or anything like that. But zoom in on the complexity that God structures in this world. And what you will see single handedly is a design system that we do not ever see in any sense of the imagination of our own creation of taking anything that's dead and trying to get something that's alive. We will never, ever take something that's dead and get something that's alive because of the complexity of DNA is not just something that's coming alive, but is actually something that's designed. It's a machine, like a machine. A machine doesn't work unless everything, every last thing is established. And they want to tell you that it all began from a cell, but where did that cell begin? Where could that cell had started? If the universe was hot, put anything in the oven. Take a whole bunch of things, put it in the oven for don't do it. Don't do that though. Don't put things in the oven. But if you put something in a very hot environment and turn it off, you're not going to get life. You're not going to get life. You're going to have a burnt charcoal place. This is why he's going to send a lake of fire because they said that it all was hot. He said, from where you came to where you're going. That's nice. But yeah, you can see, look at how complex this is. You see how complex this is? This is one of those things that when you actually understand the complexity even of a leaf, you know how more complex you are. This is just a leaf. This is just a leaf. But you as an individual, how special you are, born in a world that was established by God. even your pinky, your pinky is more, if you're just not your whole pinky, but just the knuckle, the part, your top knuckle of your pinky has more complex systems in it than any computer system that you can build. It's more complex because it's not just a thing, but it's alive. It's not just a thing, but it's alive. But you can see the children are waking up, so it's a good time to pause for the sake of understanding. Y'all willing? If you want to continue with this, I'm willing to continue with this because I'm really excited to continue with this for the sake of understanding. I'll be back. Right now it's gonna be 7 for me, as you can see right there. This is Central Time. I'll be back at like get something to eat, and then I'll be back at like 8:30, 8:30 or 9. 8:30, between 8:30 and 9 my time. So 2 hours from now. 2 hours from now, I'll hop back on, and we'll get right back to it once everything's charged. I'm gonna leave. But exactly, I have stated exactly, family. Exactly. Isn't that amazing how complex the world is? Yet they want to tell you that everything was extremely hot, and somehow you got that design after all of those so-called millions and billions of years. You know what the problem with that is? If you believe in the Bible, because there is Christians who are falling away and believing in millions and millions of years. Like there's a Christian who's a scientist, Christian scientist. He's a Christian scientist, and he himself says it's millions and millions of years. I think his name's Frank something. I don't know his name. I used to watch him all the time until I realized he believes in millions and billions of years. And I was like, how can you be a scientist and believe in millions and billions of years, and you believe in the Bible? You believe in the Bible, you know for a fact at day one, there was no sun and no moon. There was no sun and no moon. And yet people want to tell you it's millions and billions of years old. And then we got day one, day two, day three, day four. And then we get the moon. What are you going to say? The between day 4 and day 6, there was millions and billions of years in between day 1 and day 6? No, there was absolutely no. What God's going to make? He's going to make the sun and the moon, and then he's going to say, you know what? Put the animals there. Wait millions and billions of years, and then make men. Wait millions and billions of years for them to evolve. But wasn't Adam and Eve the first ones there? Right? And there was no death in that time, for the sake of understanding. We don't know how the condition of processing how long things are. People may not understand the quality of God's build. Maybe they just don't understand that. They're looking at the quality of his build, so that his things that he built seem like he built them billions of years ago, but yet he built them instantly. That's an architect. He's a great builder. That's what that is. He's a great designer, so that his design is so well established that you take a rock and you look at the carbon in it and you get millions and billions of years. But the reason why is because of his work is that amazing. His work is that amazing. That, and just looking at the complete structures of DNA, the language of it, the information, all those things, they're gonna know it's undeniable. His work is clearly seen. His work is clearly seen, and the science is. And I have a video where I have a bunch of scientists. Almost every wise scientist said that God exists. Almost everyone. And then you get the new age scientists nowadays who are so uplifted that even though they see the actual skill of God, they're denying him. They're denying him. But that's what happens when people don't believe in the truth. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, that's right. It's just something. It's absolutely something. It's one of those things that when we actually examine ourselves, we ourselves will actually be in a world of truth if we just accept the truth. So we know, just follow the genealogy. It's been 6,000 years since creation. Answers in Genesis. One of the best scientific. If anyone's a scientist, they're a scientist. If anyone studies the Bible, they study the Bible. They get really deep into the flood. I recommend that channel. They get really deep into the truth for the sake of understanding. Amen. With that, I'm gonna leave it with that. So all glory and honor be to our Elohim. Let his word be the truth, and every man a liar. As David said, I said in my haste, every man is a liar. So with that, family, I'll be back in 2 hours. Be blessed, be beloved, and amen.